hello. It's just me for the moment. Hi, VOD watchers, or anyone who's already here. We're gonna be a couple minutes, just because Ben said that he has to get some stuff from his car, things of that nature. But I figured I should get the stream up at the appointed time. So, yeah. Not that anyone else is here yet. You know, it occurs to me, I don't know if I updated this on Twitch to appropriately reflect it being part 2. Or part 3. Part 2 of the Devil episode 1, you know. I did. I'm so smart. Bum 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 bum. It's not really much of a pre-show if I'm just sitting here talking by myself, but you know, it's fine. I wanted to make sure we were ready. Ah, there's one of my guest stars.
Hello, Saturn.
Hi,
Sarah will be
Otzi.
ready shortly.
Yes, we're waiting on Ben anyway, so it's alright. I just
Oh
got
yeah, that's right. I forgot.
I have the stream up just to have it be live at the correct time, but it's no one else is here yet except for me.
Well, I'm sorry. Our internet's been bad all day, so just a heads up.
Yeah, no worries. If it comes to that, we'll figure it out. I know we're probably not doing an especially long one today, either way. So worst comes to worst, if we have to like have it be a short one, that's all right too.
Yay.
How was your day,
Okay.
Otzi?
My day?
Yeah.
That was my day off, so um pretty slow and relaxing.
Well, that's
Although
good.
yeah, there's not much else to it. I'm just tired.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm here.
We
Uh,
have we have the stream up, but no one's here yet or anything. Just wanted to make
okay.
sure it was like running.
Yeah, no worries. Oh.
The funny thing about starting to stream is that in the several months while I was mulling over doing this, I basically would never run into mystery hardware problems. Now,
I
constant.
know. Yeah, of course, right? Because you're actually streaming. That's how it's got to be.
Like I'm having like weird mystery mic issues like all the time now, where I used to not ever.
That's so weird. Why?
I don't know.
So we're gonna see what happens.
Oh, yeah. You got to close the door. Careful. There you go.
All the way.
Yeah, just let so the cat can come and go. Yeah, there you go. Maybe that'll help with us cutting each other off and showing up in each other's recordings, you know?
Yeah.
I could hear snippets of my voice, and I was like, that's probably one of the reasons I kept giving her trouble earlier.
I've been running the FGO bot in the background while I wait, because I'm very close to finally being able to make a big jalter.
Congratulations.
Big ja.
Big
I gotta
job.
log into FGO today. Let me see. I don't think I have yet.
Yes. You have to get your whatever material you need.
I've mostly been watching beloved Fallout 4 YouTuber Best Guest doing his usual Australian thing for most of the day.
I forget, is that the guy where you sent us and he had that one thing that was like, I made Jet last a really disgusting amount of time, or I have to like play
10
while
minutes,
always
yeah.
on Jet?
Because if he doesn't, like, the
Yeah.
game literally kills him. Yes.
Oh, I must have forgot to log in yesterday. Boo.
No. Your
That's okay,
streak.
worse.
Come on.
My streak.
Is everyone here?
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hello.
We don't have anyone in chat yet, but that's okay. I figure for the people, for the Twitch watchers who maybe aren't in chat / VOD watchers, I don't know if it will come up tonight, so I do want to show it off. But I got my first streamer fan art from very dear friend.
Yes.
From a very dear
Yeah.
friend who I our recent very funny audience member Truck Jams. Who I did not realize at the time was my dear friend Rory, and I should have, because I should have included into how outrageously funny Rory is, that worked like that. But I will. Oh, this one doesn't have the background. That's okay. Look, it's my little goober.
It's a little
Is it your
creator.
goober? It's the cutest little creature ever. It's not showing up on our end, but that's, I think, because you're sending us the direct.
Yeah, I'm just sending you the game
Yeah.
capture. But for the people on stream / VOD, you can see my darling little goober, as drawn by my dear friend Rory, and I'm very happy about it. She always injects
little
so much
bunny.
energy into like every character she draws. It makes me very happy.
I've got the stream open in a separate tab so that I can check in on things like chat.
I'm good.
Oh, and
Little
also
nugget.
just to show it off, because we don't really use the BRB screen much for anything yet anyway. I also put it on the BRB screen like this.
Yeah, it's so
Ooh.
cute.
Yeah, so I'm
It's a joy.
I'm super thrilled. And if you listening to this, watching this VOD or this stream, if you were like, hey Saturn, I want to draw fan art of your little goober, but I don't know if you like it. I promise you, I will love it. It will make me cry in real life, but in like a good way.
Always, forever.
That being said, though, I should probably begin deviling.
More like a work
Of
of
the devil.
friction.
That's right. Haha. Friction between girls. That's a thing that that Urabuchi said
that's
about
allowed in the courtroom.
I don't think Urabuchi said about Madoka. It's a story of friction between girls.
It's friction between girls.
We're gonna continue from where we were. So last time, I guess to briefly summarize, we were doing our Morgan thing and morging all over the place. We got news that our dear friend David Ashur, inventor of the coolest androids ever, died. And the police think it's a suicide, but we're investigating it as though it might be something else. And also, we came into possession of this precocious little brat android he has named Sarah, which is not confusing in the slightest.
Not
Not
our
the same.
Sarah.
And but that Sarah is not voiced by me, Sarah. It's
No.
voiced by Oates instead. She's voiced by Oates instead.
That's
Yeah.
me.
That's right. I'm just voicing everybody else.
We could have,
Alright.
I say we could have had you do Sarah, but I remember at that point in episode 0, I'm like, she's already playing Reyes and Emma. Like, she's going to be busy for the rest of her days.
It's fine.
But we're gonna load up high roller mode here. So we're
How bad can
leaving.
it be?
We're leaving the apartment, as Morgan says. How bad can it be? Hearing there's like a commotion outside, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it repeated the line. Thank you. 11:21 p.m. July 1st, 2086. As I approach the lobby's exit, the building's soundproofing begins to fail. The crowd has gotten bigger, but there's something else happening out there. The energy's not panicked yet, but it's creeping up on the tipping point. Are this many people pissed at Noble for selling androids? The hell's gotten them all so excited?
Adonai, what does that symbol mean?
In this rabble, probably something vulgar. Which one?
That heart with a bullet hole?
Mmm.
I don't know. It's probably nothing.
Based on net associations, it appears to be a symbol for the Heartbreak Killer.
That doesn't make any goddamn sense. Why would that freak have a symbol, or a following, or these... whatever these people are? And why the hell would they be outside David Ashore's apartment?
Ah, David Ashore was the Heartbreak Killer.
Quick, someone play Wide-Eyed Man.
Because Noble's trying to cover up the truth.
They are?
Those Megs in there are scrambling to shred every document they can. We need to stick together, form a perimeter, and try to catch them when they go to dump the scraps.
Sarah,
What are you hoping to find?
Proof that Ashore was killed for trying to blow the whistle.
blow the whistle on Heartbreak?
Noble doesn't want the world to know that the H-16 is sentient and homicidal.
You think that Heartbreak is an android?
You think whoever did that was human?
Hmm.
Noble's advanced prototype went amok and started killing.
Started killing random people.
Don't be a lamb. It only looks random. There's a clear pattern, as long as you're smart enough to see past the bullshit.
This is a great face,
Yeah.
by the way, for just, this is the face you make whenever someone who says something like this is talking to you.
That's correct.
It doesn't matter who they are or what they're talking about. Oh, okay.
How does one see past the bullshit?
Other one dude says, I interpret Wide-Eyed Man to be staring like Gowron. I think this scene is a lot better if we assume that Wide-Eyed Man is in fact just Gowron.
Yeah.
Much like all forms of fiction, it is improved if you add Gowron.
Gowron wheel. Gowron wheel.
Stop engaging.
Smart kid, she gets it. She's asking the right questions.
What the hell are you
different-
talking about?
Oh, this
No
one's
way
better.
those victims weren't related. It's gotta be deniable ops. They must have all been in DO together before getting their records bleached. Then, as soon as they've outlived their usefulness... What are you, nuts? Everyone knows the first 6 HK got talked to were the 6 prototypes that came before him.
Here's the thing, in a canon voice acted version of this game, I want this conversation between nobodies happening to be voiced by the respective hosts of the Chapo Trap House.
Yes. Swarm android so perfect no one could tell the diff. A bullet to the heart's the only way you could kill those other over-engineered freaks.
Everyone's got a goddamn opinion.
See.
Stop seeing, start moving. These people are insane.
Why don't you get some more corn slop, asshole? You think you can be the cyberpunk without ever thinking for yourself?
I want to be the cyberpunk.
You think it's a coincidence victim number 6 was working on Harco crops? They're putting something in the food!
I'm glad we all decided to do an Alex Jones bit for this.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Those people. Heartbreak. This is...
A goddamn embarrassment. The hell am I paying taxes for if the state can't shut this shit down? I can't believe she pays taxes. I would have assumed she found a way around it.
Yeah.
Listen, she may be a murderer, but she's not gonna fuck with the US government.
What about you, Adonai? What do you think about this heartbreak figure?
They're just a murderer. Should be caught and sentenced, like any other murderer.
But they must have some reason for doing such terrible things. Aren't you curious?
Why? Are some reasons for committing murder better than others?
Dinos y Galvus.
That's right.
They might have experienced trauma or abuse. They might have,
Millions of people experience trauma and abuse every day. Millions. And yet, there's only one heartbreak.
Well, there's been more than one serial killer in the world, Morgan, so...
So
Do you
jot
think
that
they were-
one down.
You think they were just born that way?
That's my guess.
That's
Unsatisfying?
sad.
I don't see why it would be.
If Heartbreak was born like that, then they never had a chance to be anything else.
If heartbreak was born like that, then none of us normal people have to ever worry about turning out like them.
That kind of predestination. It means they never have to take responsibility for what they are.
The state can make them take responsibility. As soon as they catch them.
You make it sound so trivial. They're a very dangerous serial killer.
Just a serial killer.
Just?
If HK shot someone every day, it would take them 1,132 years and about 11 months.
In order to have killed
413,789 people.
You did that in your head?
I'm good at mental math.
You counted the leap years. What is the significance of that number?
Deaths within 18 months of the Blake Fort industrial disaster. Times that number by 2 for the injuries, tack on another 183% for the birth defects. 413,000 dead, and there wasn't anything evil about it. Just human error, some shoddy welding, and time.
So you think that Heartbreak is nothing by comparison? Perhaps that is the problem, then. If they're nothing, if they represent nothing, then they can stand for whatever the crowd wants them to.
Please make way. Officials are coming through. Please disperse.
Keep walking, pigs!
Fascists!
Noble owns
Noble.
the cops! Only the cops they build in their factories.
Very funny. Why are we tolerating this shit?
You want me to wade into the crowd with a nightstick? Prove them wrong?
You know what I mean. We're the only people in this city trying to do some goddamn good, and all they just... That's just part of our job, detective. No offense, ma'am, but wearing a police badge earns you a little more hate than... Do they give prosecutors badges?
Well, they do in one game.
Yeah.
I have an ID for the parking garage. Does that count?
Depends. You ever hesitate to wear it in the open?
This moral relativism of yours seems like a strange philosophy for someone in your profession, Adonai.
Breaking out the thesaurus on me. I'm only being realistic and humble. I'm just one woman, Sarah. Whatever I do, right or wrong, it's less than a % rounding error in the grand scheme of things.
Do you tell that to your clients?
No, but they come to appreciate it when I win.
I don't mean cops in particular. The same deal applies to anyone who works for the state. The terms are stark, but the ink dried a long time ago, and we all agreed to them.
I don't recall voting for it.
Well, not voting is how these things come to pass, so... We traded freedom for safety, individual rights for collective power. The state won, the citizens lost. The very least we can do is take their criticisms head on. Look, I don't have a problem with the responsibilities of authority.
Only with authority being challenged.
But they treat us like we're the bad guys. Well, sometimes we are. Sometimes the law is wrong.
If any given individual is too small to ever affect change,
So if the public's gonna hate us no matter what we do,
And if corporations and governments will trample over people the same, regardless of their character.
and if we can't even be sure we're doing the right thing,
What do you do, Adonai?
what the hell do we do?
I think it's pretty simple.
It's not as complicated as you'd think.
In times like these,
In a world like this,
the only logical way to live is
the only moral way to act is...
do whatever it takes to win.
do whatever it takes to win.
If I'm insignificant in the grand scheme of things, I can do my worst and no one will notice.
If power is inherently evil, holding back won't save your soul.
Just fight with both barrels.
And trust the opposition to do the same.
Winner,
Winner
takes all.
Very cool.
So yeah, I was planning to end our previous stream there, but since my mic fucked up, I did not. That would have been
why.
that would have been a scene where Sarah also played 3 people and 2 of them had to talk at the same time.
Yeah, you
Right.
know,
So it works
it's
out.
okay.
Well, hopefully we've gotten that out of the way now.
Yes, and now we're going to Gatesfield Memorial Hospital. Thank you. You're a lifesaver. And the next time that Bridezilla texts you, just turn your phone off. Chatty guy. Must have been due to go on break. When he tried and failed to find the witness's medical record, his datapad had the name blacked out. But I did see that they have Codicious Executive 3, more expensive than David's, which means they most likely...
How did you do that?
You need to hold the button to get the doors to close faster. Mashing does nothing.
That is not what I meant. There were many others who arrived before us. How did you get us down here so quickly?
Well, I didn't do anything. It was that nurse who escorted us.
Yes, but you managed to get a stranger like him to help you with so few words, so little information. I don't think you even gave him your name.
Haven't you heard of the golden rule?
Of course I have. Treat others how you would want to be treated.
Wrong. Treat others how they would want to be treated. He wanted someone that he could vent to. He wanted someone to pay attention to him. And he wanted to feel appreciated. Which meant he'd be eager to help, given the chance.
Even just reading someone's mood is quite difficult. How can you know how another person wants to be treated?
There are no mind readers. No one can ever know anything about what anyone's thinking. Maybe not even themselves. Doesn't matter if they're your parent, your twin, your lover. It'll always be a gamble.
That is not a very comforting sentiment.
Well, I think it's fun.
Only because you're good at it. How did you get good at it?
Same as anything. Observation and practice.
You must have been observing and practicing for a very long time then. So we proceed down the hall, bear left, look for the 4th door.
I'm gonna open the one that says morgue on it. I forget who took Yumi Sato.
That was me. Okay. Come on in. Don't stand out there in the cold. Wouldn't be accurate. Sorry about the chill in here, but I run a little hot. And you can see my roommates never complain. Yumi Sato, medical examiner.
Dr. Sato, just the lady I wanted to see. Though I didn't expect that I'd get to. The fact that they've assigned a medical examiner, not some ad or junior, means...
Oh, you can just call me Yumi, and you're...
Morgan, I represent the deceased.
the deceased? Oh, the deceased. Asher. D. Wait, really? That's, weird. I thought this time slot was scheduled for a group of noble PR people who...
I know. Weird, right?
Well, what the hell do I know? I was getting tired of posting megs anyways. I gotta finish typing up this report before we talk shop. But in the meantime, feel free to make yourself at home.
Examined.
What's this? The hospital's getting renamed? No, it's some other hospital that got snapped up. Who wants to read an article?
I will handle it.
Okay.
Hospital renamed to thank Ikaria family. In a ribbon-cutting ceremony held uptown today, Plata Memorial Hospital was formally renamed the Northeastern Ikaria Medical Complex in recognition of the family's incredibly generous donations over the last several years. It's the excuse me. In the latest in a string of philanthropic efforts by the family to result in a name change after they paid for the renovations to the orchestra hall and the retrofitting of what used to be known as the Scout Arena. But it wasn't so long ago that the Ikaria were better known for drawing blood than donating it. Back before the 50s, they had a fearsome reputation for cutthroat business practices that had their business rivals going so far as to accuse them of involvement with organized crime. After the founding of Renigen Medical over 25 years ago and its subsequent sale, the Ikaria have moved out of the business world and into the upper echelons of society that are sometimes mockingly referred to as the Neobility, a generation of newly minted aristocrats born from the unique and chaotic economics of the mid-21st century and the Red Decade. When asked about her opinion on those who'd label her family House Ikaria at the hospital's renaming ceremony, Renigen board member Mirai Ikaria had this to say: "In this country, anyone can make a name for themselves, so long as they're willing to put in the work. Mock new money all you want, but the truth is that success is all about reinventing yourself. And the only ones uncomfortable with that are... We're working hard to print out the rest of your article, character by character. It's tough work. We'd be able to go about it a lot faster if you'd leave a tip. Want to drop your payment info in the jar?"
The Ikaria. Guess they weren't always in the same line of work. Now they're plastering their name wherever to get themselves a new image. All the Neobility are eager to prop up their image wherever they can, but that must go double for the Ikarias, assuming the truth about their criminal past is anywhere close to the rumors.
Are all these dead bodies?
One would hope so.
I only meant that I'm surprised to see them stored here. It suggests a backlog, which suggests a higher murder rate than the public data would lead one to expect.
Do you only examine the bodies for the police, Doctor?
Huh? Oh, I wish. Nah, most of my job involves confirming COD on natural deaths for insurance adjustments. Insurers want to blame the mod for failing, mod makers want to blame the stiff for not exercising enough. Family says the company insurance plan would pay for mods, but not a gym membership. Yeah, that whole wall there is suspected defective liver mods, suspected leaking internal bio batteries, suspected CCIC,
CCIC?
climate change-induced complications.
You can prove that climate change contributed to an otherwise natural death?
Very, very rarely.
If it can be proved, what does that mean for the family of the deceased?
Plus or minus 14% on life insurance payout. I mean, it's most of what I do, and I don't dislike my job, it's just... so much of what I do just boils down to telling a bunch of cheapskates how to split the dead man's bill. It's enough to make homicide feel like a breath of fresh air.
Ooh. Dangerous mouse placement. I don't want it advanced. That's a lot of screens. There's gotta be diminishing returns on productivity.
Why do you have so many monitors, ma'am?
You can't just ask someone that.
Good question! Every quarter when they do inventory and budgeting, they ask me if I need anything, and I never do, so I submit a blank form. But I guess a while back there was a +1 in a spreadsheet somewhere, and no one's ever corrected it, and so... boom! I get 4 new monitors every year.
Do you run out of things to use them for?
Sometimes. But this year I've started running 2 dramas at once when I'm doing rote work, which helps.
Watching 2 television shows at the same time helps you do rote work?
Helps me use up the screen.
I see.
Is she finishing up over there?
Right. Okay. So, what's up?
Thanks for your time, Dr. Sato. My first question would be...
What was the cause of death?
Oh, wow. Hi there! Cute android. I didn't even realize it was... really cute. The skin is... that's remarkable. Even just looking close, you can tell they really are warm.
A little blink, little music note.
Mm-hmm.
Darling.
Still not quite human body temperature, but they've come a long way. The early gens all looked flushed, felt like they were always running a fever, and they ran like it too. Even 2 years ago, the average warm android only lasted...
Sorry, but the circumstances surrounding this particular case call for expediency.
Right. So what can I tell you?
Were you able to determine the cause of death?
Well, cause of death, sure. We got that much figured out at least.
Why doesn't that sound particularly reassuring?
Dr. O'Shur died of respiratory failure. Not enough oxygen in the blood, not enough blood going to the brain. Root cause being widespread depression of the central nervous system.
What would the symptoms be? What would it have looked like?
Lightheadedness, followed by dizziness. Then headaches, slurred speech, exhaustion, loss of consciousness, and finally respiratory error. Report shows that the EMTs tried intubation, then resuscitation through electrical stimulation repeatedly. By the time he got to the emergency room, they were desperate enough to attempt direct artificial blood oxygenation, but it was too late.
And you're certain of all of this?
Oh, well, most of it, sweetie.
Most of it?
Yeah, it's turned into quite the puzzle, and I'm used to having more pieces to start with. I was surprised a man as rich and famous as him didn't have any kind of biomes, but his files show...
He wasn't a viable candidate for modding.
Yeah, that's right. Without that kind of first-hand tech, we don't really... we don't have nearly as much data as we'd like.
1 second.
Oh, okay.
I can barely move. I've got pets all up in my business.
Hi, I'm back. I had to help my mom with something very quickly.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm helping her locate her phone. All right, we're good. I can hear it from my room, so I think she can find it.
Oh, good. Okay, cool.
Yeah, there she goes. She ended the call. Okay.
But he was extensively monitored from the moment the EMTs arrived. We're very certain about our conclusion.
Did you find anything else unusual in his body in your examination? Cuts or bruises?
No injection sites, nothing in any cavities.
Nothing at all, huh? The police mentioned a tox screen.
Yeah, that's the thing. They ran a tox screen when he first arrived, typical diagnostic intake procedure. Based on the emergency call, they figured you must have overdosed on something, but the tox screen gave him nothing. After he died, we performed the broadest screenings possible. Nothing.
So were you forced to conclude this was a natural death?
I didn't give up that easy. I took some blood samples and compared their makeup with what was on record in his previous medical history, and I managed to isolate a single non-naturally occurring chemical compound that...
What was it? Some exotic toxin from a different hemisphere?
I wish. I ran it through every available database we have access to. And even a few I only sort of have access to through some friends. Not only does it not match any known poison, it doesn't match the chemical makeup of any registered compound.
Ooh, that's what we were thinking, right?
So a designer drug, huh?
That seems to be the best explanation.
What the hell did you do, David?
You said it didn't match any registered compound. What about compounds that aren't registered?
Those friends of yours, private sector folks?
Yeah, in pharmaceuticals.
If one of them patented a new compound, a new drug, what would keep its formula from going on the record?
In the private sector, intellectual piracy is the norm, so you're expected to protect your research aggressively.
Patent first, find a use later?
Yeah. A patent would have to at least describe your compound in brief, but depending on what country you file in, I've heard it may be considered prudent to keep the actual chemical makeup off the record.
Smart. Using international IP law as your own personal minefield.
How so?
Whenever you're ahead, patent as much as you can, as fast as you can, but bury the formulae so no one knows where it's safe to walk. Anybody small and ambitious comes along, finds a new drug they're excited about, you flip up your card, let them know you came up with the idea years ago, and that you'll give them death by 1,000 court dates if they so much as blink. Wouldn't work on anyone your size or bigger, they could punch back, but for the rest of the field...
Wow, you corporate lawyers are scary.
I'm not a corporate lawyer.
So you came up with that strategy just now?
Her like, oh,
Hmm.
oh
No,
no, stop, Morgan, you're scaring the host.
So it's possible that this poison is actually a known substance? Something that the hospital could have easily identified.
If it wasn't considered a trade secret.
Yeah, unfortunately that is a possibility.
Still, just because a drug is new, that doesn't mean it's original.
Does the effect that this compound had remind you of any other drug? Maybe one that's prescription only, or a controlled substance? One you might know by another name, but with a patented structure.
Sorry, sweetheart. It's a general depressant. There are a lot of drugs that have that effect on the body, and they come in all shapes and sizes. Places.
If the effect was unremarkable, what about its strength? Could you estimate how much of this stuff he had in his body, all told?
Not precisely, no. Not without detailed knowledge on its half-life. But I guess that it must have been about 20 milligrams?
Is 20 milligrams a lot?
Not for a medicine. So this wasn't just an overdose of something relatively harmless, then.
No. Not if 20 mil was enough to crash his entire system.
Thank you, Yumi.
Of course. So, you ready to view the body? We could skip it, if you want. I know most people get squeamish around corpses.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay then. Let's get started. Alright. I'll just step out for a moment to give you some privacy.
Yes, please, thank you. The last time we talked was on a Sunday. You were complaining, I remember that. It's the principle of the matter. Right, you'd ordered this cheap piece of shit sculpture or something by mistake, and it came damaged and you wanted to send it back for a refund. I gently reminded you how, with your salary, it was literally not worth your time, and I kindly offered to throw it out for you, since you're having so much trouble letting go. You're only offering because you want to see how loud it sounds, shattering at the bottom of my trash can. I denied it, even though you were right, and it was obvious. I should have let you have that one.
I thought that he would look different,
Huh?
but he looks exactly the same as I remember. His skin is pale, and he's very still. But his face is the same, his hair, his hands.
You were expecting something more drastic?
The last time I saw him, he was alive. He smiled, and he told me he would see me soon. Now he is dead. Something is gone. And I can't find the difference. I'm trying to look harder. But I think I might just not be capable of it. And I wonder why. Why I was created to not be capable.
Could be an issue of skill. Or maybe it's not something that can be seen, no matter how hard you look. But it's there.
Cannot be seen.
I guarantee it. I've seen the transition enough times to be sure that between life and death, the distinction has significance. To the dead, at the very least.
You're going to smoke? Here? Now?
I'll pay the fine.
That's not the issue.
Were you expecting me to fall to pieces? Real boys grieve in all kinds of ways, Pinocchio.
And some don't grieve at all, it seems.
I'm a cold woman. Sorry to disappoint. The hell? Why the hell won't this thing light?
Adonai. You have your cigarette backwards.
There's the reference.
The reference.
That's the JoJo reference.
Job.
All right, that's back into cold storage for him. So, need anything else?
Can you send me the chemical makeup of that compound you isolated?
Sure, for what it's worth. Let me just.
It's got carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen with hexagonal structures, so it's organic. But there's a number of metallic elements too. And if you had to speculate on its intended use based on what we know of its structure?
Well, it certainly acted like a depressant, binding to receptor pathways and affecting the balance of neurotransmitter reuptake.
Depressants are pretty rare in the designer drug scene.
True. People are always looking for a higher high or a crazier trip, but a more powerful depressant will just make you fall asleep. Not much need to hit up the gray market for that kind of experience.
No, there's not. I see. Thanks again. You've been extremely helpful during a very difficult time.
Hey, anything you need, give me a ring.
That's very
Rockford's orders have got me on call, so I'm already getting overtime for that.
Glad to hear it.
Goodbye, Yumi.
And goodbye to you too, Greenie.
My name is Sarah.
Nice to meet you, Sarah.
How often does Sarah get to say that?
Extremely often. Are you kidding me?
Oh, okay.
Do you know how many Sarahs I know?
How what's the proportion of them that are the wrong spelling compared to the right spelling?
I mean, okay. What are we talking? Like, because to me, the wrong spelling is putting an H at the end.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Oh, okay. I know way more with the wrong spelling, unfortunately.
Tragic.
It's tragic. It's tragic. The other, like, my literal other best friend in my life is also named Sarah, and she spells it wrong. But
Some crimes can never be forgiven.
it's true.
Mhm.
Up on ramps and down off ramps, above skywalks and under tram lines, the buildings get progressively more polished as we head into the most economically developed part of the city. Corporate territory, national headquarters for the likes of Howe Industries, Lockcoon, or is it Lockchoon? Might be Lockchoon. Tethys, Neath, each of them sheltering their own microcity of employee accommodations beneath their skyscrapers' shadows. Whale fall. The entirety of the ocean floor coming together to feast and grow and live off the fetid, rotting fat of the leviathans that swallowed generations of people by the mouthful.
Weight is commonly listed, and my weight is... Do I really have to disclose that?
Noble lays claim to one of the largest shadows in the city, a towering nerve center for the whole nation's android industry. It's meant to be intimidating, I'm sure, but today I'm glad that Noble keeps such a sizable physical presence here. I need answers about David and his work on Sarah. Answers I'd never get browsing the company website or speaking to a representative.
Synopsis. Relationships. There are typically trivia sections as well. Should I start there?
Noble will have their guard up, of course, but even that will tell me something. What's up?
I guess she's not talking to me.
Doing improv, I see. Excellent. Here's a little gold star. I'll pin it to your Discord icon.
Yay!
Where they let me walk, who they let me talk to.
History.
Their efforts at performative transparency and clumsy obfuscation will...
What? How did you know my father?
What?
I'm sorry, did I interrupt your brooding?
No. What did you ask?
My father. I know you were his friend. But what was your relationship like?
Can't you just scroll through our socials?
Father avoided social media. And your online presence is not significant.
You saying I don't have enough followers?
Essentially.
We went to the same college.
You studied programming?
No. I studied all kinds of different things as an undergrad, but not technology.
Is that a good way to prepare for law school?
I wasn't preparing for law school. Or anything else, really.
Huh?
David, though, he had talent and he knew he wanted to do something with it. He studied programming, robotics, discrete math, cybernetics.
What classes did you share then?
Business ethics. I was the second best student in the class, and he
Was the first?
was the one who asked the most questions. Not sure about his actual ranking. He found the course challenging, and I clearly didn't, despite being younger. Guess he felt burned. He'd come up to me after class to argue, and sometimes to ask for help.
Father always talked about socializing like it was a chore. It was kind of you to give him a chance.
What, like I was some kind of social butterfly? Belle of the ball?
You weren't?
One Sunday night, he knocked on my door all panicked, saying he was in bad shape for this tech course. There was a midterm or something the next day. I couldn't make heads or tails of the material, but I did my best to at least quiz him. He wasn't satisfied, though. Wanted to cram the rest of the night.
Father had to cram for An undergraduate midterm?
Did I say something scandalous?
He's been called the founder of modern programming.
Yeah, well, even founder types can have poor time management when they're 21. He was already fried by that point. Wasn't hard to tell what he was really asking for. So I went and stole a study aid for him.
You stole a controlled substance just to help him with studying?
No, that'd be insane. No, I just pocketed some breath mints from the common room. Told him to pinch his nose and swallow fast, because the taste is so strong.
You gave him a placebo.
He already knew the content as good as he ever would. What he needed was to sleep. He could barely keep his eyes open by the time I got back from my daring heist. Didn't take much convincing for him to rest his eyes just until it kicked in.
In the test?
B+, I think.
I'm surprised that father stayed close with you after that. You stole and lied to him.
I stole and lied for him. And David understood that. He was good at understanding things without me having to spell them out. But I guess that's not the kind of thing that gets passed down through programming. Anyway, we kept in touch after that. First year of grad school, he published this paper.
The Turing solution. A framework for programming adaptive linguistic heuristics.
One of his advisors came up with that title. David thought it was way too cocky, but
But it still hasn't failed any known Turing test in years since.
don't act like you're the one who deserves credit for it. He called me one weekend asking for advice on how to handle all the attention. Job offers, interviews, apprenticeships, invitations to immigrate.
What did you tell him?
I don't remember telling him anything, actually. A lot of our conversations went like that. He would talk to me about whatever personal or professional problem was stuck in his head that day, and I would nod while he wore himself out. And at the end of the conversation, he'd thank me, even though I hadn't offered a single word of advice. He took Noble's offer, and they took over his education, paid him to work on his master's during the day and attend corporate training at night. And whatever else Noble may be, they were smart enough to start listening to him early.
You are referring to his one-point doctrine.
Quality over quantity.
Simple and elegant, just like his code.
Simple and elegant, but anathema to a global corporation with supply chains designed for maximum capacity and just-in-time manufacturing. But obviously, they got over their distaste fast enough. In a span of a few years, Noble's gone from making manual labor ads for meager profit to being the world leader in intelligence as a service. Even as he was making money hand over fist, he still kept in contact with a nobody like me. I moved to the city for my apprenticeship. He helped me put a down payment on my apartment, then made up excuses as to why he couldn't help me move boxes. So is that enough detail for you? Thoroughly convinced that he and I were, in fact, friends?
I am. But, Adonai, that favor that you owe him, what was it for?
That's private. Understand? I have zero interest in talking about it with you. Say you understand.
I understand, Adonai. We will be arriving shortly. Shall I send word ahead?
Just tell them that David's lawyer is here. Noble Electronics Northeastern HQ. I will say they've said in questions and stuff like Curious Cat asks and whatever that their idea for this is that they're not specific about the currency or the location or anything. 'Cause they want to be a thing where wherever you're reading it, you could believe that it's feasibly happening in 2086 version of your country, right?
Right.
But unfortunately, I'm brain poisoned by, like, my knowledge of where they're from and, like, the little visual Easter eggs that keep getting snuck, this, that, and the other. And to me, the city is Boston. And this is just Boston in 2086, and like, everyone's secretly speaking with Bostonian accents and drinking Dunkin' Donuts.
Fallout 4 again?
thing-
I can't escape.
It's the situation where it's like, oh yeah, this is just what everyone experiences, while you reference things that are in exclusively your quarter mile that you grew up in.
There's enough things in this that are said northeastern where it's like, at first I'm like, oh, is it the northeast part of a complex? But then I realize it's the northeast part of a country, and I'm just like, oh, it's Boston. It's Boston. We're in Boston.
We're in Boston.
I've been here before. Sat right here in this lobby, waiting for David to come and treat me to lunch. At least I think it was this lobby. Could have been some other floor. Could have been an entirely different building. All these corporate towers of Babel feel like interchangeable fractals to me, folding in on themselves in patterns of narcissistic paranoia. So monumental in the scale of their hubris, they needed to use non-Euclidean geometry when drawing up the blueprints. The greatest minds of each generation coming together just to find the most expensive way to shove their heads up their asses.
Adonai, is something bothering you?
Just doing the math on how long we'll be kept waiting here. Apparently, someone will be here shortly. So maybe if I pass the time by glaring around the place, it'll improve my mood.
To think this is only one room. This complex is so massive that it doesn't even feel man-made. It's like it was carved out of the rock by waves. Like it's always been here.
That's the con. If this place was actually natural, there'd be birds everywhere.
I hadn't considered that. Why aren't there birds in here?
Probably because of what they do to the ones that get in. I'm kidding. Though I don't have a better explanation.
So much energy, so many people, also intent.
You kidding? It's Saturday, the place is half empty.
But doesn't everyone work on Saturdays?
All the parents do, so they don't need to find childcare on Sunday. Everyone else flips a coin, I guess.
All these people for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. What could they all possibly be doing?
Making work for themselves.
You can be very cynical, can't you?
Yeah, I'm terrible. But that guy over there's just been jiggling his cursor for the last 20 seconds.
I've been there.
Uh-huh. They changed the logo again.
Noble Electronics.
How does it feel stepping in here? Is this some kind of religious experience for you?
It's just the corporation where my father worked.
Careful now, or they'll burn you for heresy against the company.
You said it again. The company. As if it's a proper noun. You're mimicking the employees, aren't you?
So it can obey simple orders, but it can pick up on that.
Is it just a part of the corporate culture?
Noble's one of the biggest corporations there is. One of the biggest there's ever been. We mere humans can't hope to escape the gravity of anything that size, no matter where you live or how far off the grid you think you are. So, imagine what it's like working for them. You live in company dorms, work in company quarters. Wherever you go, that logo's above your head. You eat, sleep, and breathe on Noble's timetable, at its discretion. When you spend your whole life inside of it, Noble must feel big enough to be the only company there is.
St. Peter, don't you call my soul. Don't you call me home. I owe my soul to the company store.
Boo 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 doo boo. Whoever comes to greet us better have a pulse and some goddamn authority. My mood's starting to sour, and if they just send me the first link in their infinite chain of corporate bureaucracy, I'll make them wish. This one's Ben, I think.
Morgan?
That's me.
Hey there, Android Manufacturing Quality Control Eastern Division. Evan Dawes.
Evan Dawes, he says, like it's an afterthought. What's a name compared to your place in the hierarchy?
You seem familiar. Have you...
I'm David's lawyer.
Oh, then we must have...
Apologies. Let me first just say how sorry I am about his passing. You and everyone else at the company must be going through a lot right now.
As if it's a proper noun.
Thank you for taking the time to meet with me.
You're welcome, but it's no big deal. Everyone's on the razor today, but what else is new? And compared to PR or legal right now, our workloads in QA are... Never mind. How can I assist you?
Shortly before his passing, Dr. Ashur began the process of registering this android.
Yes, that is correct.
Unfortunately, he wasn't able to finish the job.
Look at that. It's definitely custom.
Gee, you think? Good thing I sought out an expert.
Warm, it goes without saying. Reminds me of the A16 Premiere, if anything. The barcode is clearly printed, no visible defects. But you're right, it doesn't correspond to anything we've got on file. Well, I sent you the right man for the job. Now we just need to go to the right place.
Not far, I hope.
It's in the building.
A winning smile.
Yay!
In the building. That can mean anything from down the hall to half a day's hike.
The production line on B9 should have everything we need.
You do manufacturing inside your corporate headquarters?
B9's a fully functional production floor, but it was only built for demonstrative purposes. New clients make deals upstairs about how many and what size or shape, when they come down to the basement to see how the sausage is made.
They have enough money to build a fake factory just for guests? Smart! So long as you're only giving tours, not giving away company secrets.
No need to worry about that. We take intellectual security very seriously around here.
This is just the opening to Speed Racer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
No kidding. There are 11 cameras on us at the moment, that I can see. And who knows how many pairs of modded eyes are aimed our way. Clearly, nothing happens here without the almighty company knowing about it. So if they try to claim ignorance about anything, it's gonna piss me off. Lead the way. It really is fully furnished down here. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but it's pretty rare to get to see all this in person, you know? Would you mind terribly if I looked around for a moment?
No problem. I've got some prelim paperwork that I need to handle anyway, so have at it.
I better take full advantage. I'll need more than cursory knowledge if I want to figure out where Sarah came from and why David wanted me to take custody. I'm gonna look around. You stay put in the meantime.
Not a knife?
Wouldn't want to lose you among the rest of the merchandise. What's being built out there?
Oh, our top-of-the-line brand new bestsellers, the Animate 16 Warm.
Looks kinda cold out there.
We keep the factory floor refrigerated. It slows the organics already tuned metabolic activity to a minimum.
That explains why the room doesn't smell like rotting flesh. The flesh out there is only somewhat rotting. Slowly. I just meant I'm surprised to see metal.
Oh, well, all the A16s have alloy endoskeletons. The organics are layered on later in the process.
Sounds like what Sarah told me about herself. Maybe she really was the A16's prototype. But it's hard to imagine bridging the gap between her and these scattered dull parts. I get that you can grow just about anything from lax Gemini, but how do you get the synthetic and the organic to work together?
Yeah, that was our first concern when R&D began work on the worm concept. The 1.0s were real skin with synthetic muscle, and it was a horror show. Metal pulling on skin was...
Right.
For 2.0, they worked backwards. Organic muscles, organic skin. But digital signals on organic hardware was a dead end.
Didn't the muscles flex when you passed an electric current through them?
They'd flex and unflex, sure, but that's not nearly precise nice enough for facial expressions. Looked like puppets strung up on live wires. We used the test footage to haze interns, actually.
This is like a Venture Brothers bit.
Eh.
You must have figured something out. The A-16 wouldn't look out of place on the runway.
Thank you. We try. We ended up reaching out to mod companies. Well, we actually just bought out half a dozen of them, but
Right.
they figured out how to get human nervous systems moving mechanical limbs decades ago. So we just needed to get a mechanical nervous system to move. Living limbs.
Very clumsy attempt to avoid using the word human.
High precision mods are slotted straight into the nervous system. They receive their input from neurotransmitters, not bioelectricity.
So you had to do the opposite.
Exactly. We created a synthetic neurotransmitter that our androids could use to communicate with organic flesh.
Where did that breakthrough come from? Dr. Ashore?
Partly, he led the team that built the motor neurons in this analogy. They carry commands from the central nervous OS to individual muscles across the chassis. But the the synthetic analog serotonin. That was actually an old brainchild from the VP of Android Futures, Helen Young.
Young. Hasn't David mentioned Dr. Young before? Sounds impressive.
She's one hell of a biochemist. Or she was, I guess. Not much time for individual lab work when you get to her kind of pay grade.
So Jung collaborated with David on the technology that enabled warm androids. As I thought, whatever went into Sarah that makes the android so distinct, he couldn't have taken sole credit for it. Jung.
Hey, I'm gonna give y'all a I'm gonna give y'all a heads up. It is coming down cats and dogs outside.
Okay.
So if we vanish, that's why.
All right.
Okay?
Well, we'll go to our. We'll try and shoot for our planned end time, but if you guys suddenly disappear, I will cut things early. So we'll
Yeah, we're still shooting to go for another hour and a half, but if we disappear, that's why. It's because the power gave out.
I think we can make it to trial, but I don't know if we'll actually get to do trial or not. So we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
An inhaler left out on the desk. Probably a half dozen empty ones inside one of the drawers. Dawes, the inhalers, they're distributed by the company, correct?
Oh yeah, HR handles it. They personalize your dosage and prescription and update it based on performance and job fulfillment reviews.
Other corporations do it the same way?
Yeah, pretty much. Everyone's trying to keep pace with each other, so... Can't have your employees losing focus on the job. Could cost you who knows how much in lost efficiency.
Sorry if this is insensitive, but given what happened to David, are overdoses common in the company?
Yeah.
Yeah, he says.
Overdoses, that is, not hospitalizations or deaths. It's all pretty organized these days.
These days?
And back when I started in consulting, pretty much everyone had an embarrassing story from their first 2 years. They popped a few too many greens and missed the on-ramp.
Popped greens?
Yeah, it used to be pills. Green to get you going, yellow to keep you there, swallow a red after brushing your teeth, and get to your bunk fast. But yeah, the inhalers are a huge improvement, like going from torches to the light bulb. They sync straight to your personal biomes and adjust dosage in real time. Overdoses are way down.
That's great to hear.
The trainees under me don't realize how good they've got it. Kids probably won't even have to learn how to purge.
Yeah, I know, right? That's an important term. However, you might be able to guess what it means.
Yeah.
The act of emptying one's stomach contents by inducing
Yeah.
vomit, triggering the gag reflex, or using laxative to stimulate a bowel movement. But yeah, it's okay because we have inhalers now.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't
You
worry
don't have
about
to,
it.
as a part of your corporate training, learn how to be able to empty your gut at a moment's notice. This seems to share some components with that coffin Sarah was napping in. If Dawes does quality assurance, is it some kind of android calibration device? It's probably what he'll use to register Sarah. Looks a little... Is Sarah tall enough for it to recognize her? Yeah, that's right, other one, dude. It's you in the cyberpunk future, your company needs to have an official sanctioned fucked up drug culture. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
Feels like I've seen this before. That's right, there was one in David's lab.
That's the nanograde elementary nanofacturer for short. Real high quality piece of machinery. Each of them built in-house by Randock Mechanics.
What does it do?
Nano level flash fab. Basically a 3D printer for nano machines.
You build nanomachines in your factories for use in your androids?
The raw materials are cheap, literally elementary, so no sense getting them shipped in. It's mostly the medical models that make use of them. Inject a couple thousand nanites into a patient's bloodstream, run diagnostics, and provide a solution.
A 3D printer for nanomachines. So, what kind of ink does it use?
Silicon, hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, building blocks. They feed it to the nanoprinter and it assembles the machines particle by particle.
Like a ribosome building structurally complex proteins out of chemically simple nucleic acids. Must be time consuming.
You would think, but Randock cracked the code on parallel microfacturing. The inside's crystalline, sprawling like an ant's nest. Raw materials enter in at one point in thousands of different entry points, combining and recombining at intersections. Finished product ends up being at the center and drips out in a liquid solution. Distilled nectar, swimming with millions of nanites in just 2 minutes.
Nectar? It's sticky?
It can be, depending on the desired output, but the door vacuum seals while it's cooking, so don't worry. It's completely spill-proof.
Winning smile. What a relief. Not exactly a box of paper clips David could just have brought home from the office one day. He must have bought his own, for some reason. What have we got on this data pad? Some kind of write-up? Who wants to do this one?
I'll take it. On the subject of Sullivan's Peak, much of our world today, and in fact much of our economy, is heavily influenced by the...
Ooh, Sarah, you're cutting out quite a
experiment.
bit. I'm sorry. Could I get a reconnect
right back.
from you?
Yep. Okay.
Welcome
Am I
back.
back? Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, hopefully it'll hold together while I read this part.
I believe you.
Much of our world today, and in fact much of our world's economy, is heavily influenced by the uncanny valley. The thought experiment provides a simple and easily applied explanation for the gaps we see in the otherwise wide spectrum of automated dependence that assist us in nearly every industry on the planet. There's a very simple primal truth to it. We like things that resemble the living, like cartoons and puppets and toys. And we like things that are damn near indistinguishable from the living, like whatever name Noble's latest products are being sold under. But there are deep, deep trenches between those two ends where products are universally appalling to human sensibility. The Uncanny Valley will no doubt remain a useful tool for teaching, marketing, and design for generations to come, but already we are seeing ways in which it fails. It is becoming increasingly clear to us that the space between nearly indistinguishable and truly indistinguishable is much wider than we ever suspected, and it may not be the only part of the map that we must fear. I propose we bridge these gaps in knowledge by looking to the speculative fiction of Robert J. Sullivan, who, in his most well-known work, Equal Under One Sky, described a concept which thereafter has been called Sullivan's Peak. Through the lens of his characters and their so very divided world, Sullivan demonstrated that the Uncanny Valley does, in fact, have its own peak on the other side. A point past which making an artificial existence any more human in its features serves only to make the user experience more uncomfortable, more difficult, and more fraught with moral pitfalls. Once you reach Sullivan's Peak, traveling any further only has diminishing returns. The implications of this idea are far-reaching. We will very soon reach a point at which the designers of ads can only make their creations less lifelike or less likable, a hard stopping point for technological process. What then, we must ask? Oh, looks like you forgot to sign in onto this device. Drop your thumbprint below and we'll get you squared away so you can keep reading.
I like how everyone
I should have taken this one.
I'm sorry, Van, I forgot. I will say I like how our pattern for y'all reading these has been to switch to a completely different shitty voice whenever you hit the end of article blurb.
Yeah, totally.
That's correct.
Surprised to find reading material like that around here. Were they passing it around as a gag? Or are they actually afraid of Sullivan's Peak around here? Noble must be wary of it. If the peak does exist, they'll be coming up on it fast now that androids are warm. Noble's entire product line, maybe their entire industry, could go bottoms up if people start to think it's cool. If Sarah's any indication of where their androids are headed, I could see some people getting uncomfortable.
I really like how they've thought enough about this to have come up with an opposing antithesis to the Uncanny Valley.
Yes, it's very neat. There's a lot of thought goes into the world building for this game. It tickles my brain. I like it quite a bit. I also I haven't been showing it off just because I want to maximize the amount of chips we're getting since we're playing High Roller. But she has completely unique dialogue for if you choose the wrong takeaway to an article and you just don't get any chips for it. But she'll have a whole dialogue explaining why she thinks that she believes the thing that you said she does.
That's just an excuse to have people buy the game and play it.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you want to see Morgan have zero reading comprehension, you do need to buy the game yourself. I'm sorry. There's something out there that caught my eye when we came in. A very familiar shade of crimson. If I squint through the glass out on the floor, there are temperature-controlled fluid tanks. Through glass and plastic flows an eye-catching scarlet that transitions into... So you add the blood towards the end?
You mean the oxidant? Yeah, relatively late in the process. Something out of place?
Androids have blood, even if it's not officially labeled as such. But it isn't red. It's pink. Sometimes
Yeah,
milky. Also, Danganronpa is the other very direct one.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes milky, sometimes neon, occasionally garish, but pink. I just didn't think the oxidant would be red.
Oh, right. Sorry, I barely noticed it at this point. The color's natural. It comes from the biomanufacturing process. That chromafuge out there removes the byproducts, the waste, the excess pigment.
Changing it from blood red to psychopop pink.
Without that chromafuge, our android's flesh would come out looking all in the wrong colors.
That may be true. It
I don't-
probably isn't, but it may be.
I don't mean the wrong colors, as in
It's-
not what I.
No, it's okay. I understand. It's 2086. I know you wouldn't possibly believe something like that. But I have a simpler explanation. Blood is primal. Sight of it carries weight. They changed the color of their product's blood so that when an android gets a bottle broken against its face, no one bats an eye.
All done? You ready to get the ad handled?
Actually, other one, dude, it's not even that it's dyed, it's de-dyed. They bleach it.
Mm-hmm.
They take the extra dye out of it to make it more palatable looking, which I think is fun. A great explanation for why you have a Danganronpa reference in your world building. Thanks for humoring me.
Can you have it step into the scanner?
As he says.
Understood.
Right then, what are we looking at here?
Look, she's in a fucking the Fire Emblem SMT crossover game, background in PC mode.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa. There's a lot to unpack here.
We theorize that it may have been Asher's pincushion.
Pincushion, huh? That would explain some of what I'm reading here.
What language is that on the screen?
Tess. You know, Tesseract, all noble products and well, pretty much all products, period, are programmed in Tess.
When we open the augmented reality crime scene and you see the thing that looks kind of like the Unity logo, that's the logo for Tesseract.
Oh, cute. Okay.
Easy to read and write, stay compliant. Now, this model, what's it go by?
Sarah.
This Sarah model, it's got everything the 16th line has, that's for sure. Organic skin, hybrid muscles, advanced facial processing and emoting, but there's a lot crammed in here that's still in development. Like, in the idea phases. Solar cell hair strands and decentralized redundant power, mental and physical overclocking with extended tolerances. The data storage is so large I can't... No, wow, we had to measure it using...
I'm so cool. Hell of a poker face.
Wait, decryption and signal hijacking, that's...
Hacking?
Essentially.
Does that mean it could hack its own tenants?
Oh, no, that's unthinkable. Literally, for an ad. For an ad to break its tenants would be like you stepping into traffic or dropping a baby. Even if you're physically capable of it, it's not something you would ever choose to do.
Some people do walk into traffic. Psychotics, addicts, the mentally ill. Does that mean that there are androids?
Well, no, there aren't crazy androids. So, yeah. I guess my analogy doesn't hold up.
That's okay. So it can't hack itself, but it was given the ability to hack other systems.
The industry line is that such a capability could be an option in certain emergency scenarios. Breaking through the firewalls and encryption of the surrounding electronics to broadcast directly to police or military channels. Speaking of military, this musculoskeletal setup is drastic. I've never seen this on a consumer model.
Can you lift a car or something, Sarah?
Most cars. It would depend on the center of gravity.
Well, what?
Lady, this Sarah could wrestle a public disturbance walker and come out on top.
Those stomping behemoths they bring out for riot suppression?
And in terms of computational ability, the estimate says... That can't be right.
Look, Dawes, I was actually hoping you could tell me something about the software or the metadata. Who worked on it, and when?
Ah, right. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate. The editing logs have been purged.
That doesn't sound very above the board.
Sorry, I can't tell you anything about who worked on Sarah or when.
Any chance you can restore those logs?
Not here, not with this machine. I need the computers that were actually used for programming this model. Any ideas where those would be?
Sarah?
I cannot answer that question with any accuracy.
Had a feeling you might say that. Ads, right?
Sorry, I can tell you that the code is unique. There's hints of the A16 in there, a few of the same conclusions. It's just... Dr. Asher or whoever took very different paths to get there.
So Sarah has even less in common with every other android on the inside.
Sorry, didn't expect to hit a dead end here.
You've been very helpful. Can we still get the registration done?
Yeah, no problem. We've got the software and forms all set up here. Occasionally we let a new business partner bring one home fresh from the oven, you know?
Oven? Gross.
All right, a few basic questions then. Who's going to be the official owner of this unit?
She is.
As it says. Unless the will disagrees, it's my responsibility.
Right then. You fine with the designation Sarah? We can set it to anything you like.
Well, actually, never mind. Sarah will do fine.
Okay, this part's all standard. Civilian model, address, contact info I can get from your crumbs. You want to reset to factory defaults? Could clear up a lot of quirks.
Not right now.
Last thing then is the grading. I'm reading 23 tenets here, nothing too far out of the ordinary.
23? That's higher than I expected, talking with it. She seemed more malleable than that.
I don't blame yourself. Guessing tenant count from outward appearances has become a crapshoot. Not like it used to be. It used to be they only had 3 tenants total, and every unit had to have them. Then came the first accidents, and the first lawsuits, then the hearings, and the legislature.
And then the demand for more tenants. A tenant making sure androids couldn't endanger the state. A tenant stating that ads wouldn't divulge private information without prior consent. There was a campaign calling for a tenant to weigh child and adult lives equally during risk assessment. There was a campaign calling for a tenant to do the opposite.
Companies wanted their asses covered. Customers wanted guarantees. There was never much incentive to deny a requested tenant, so the list just ballooned. Until the military entered the markets in full force.
You sound like you don't approve.
I wouldn't go that far. They needed their ads to be able to pull the trigger when ordered to. Without clearing 5,000 lines of bloated, hard-coded decision points to get there. I get that. But since the Army's the only ones using tech with bare minimum tenets, all the best, least cluttered, most elegant code is only used for war games. It's not very romantic. Well, not like I was on the jury.
Department of Advanced Defense Projects versus Zenith Dynamics. The Supreme Court sided with the military's request and set a new precedent that every other army around the world would race to meet, changing tenets from a mandated list at the root of every ad source code to a choose-your-own checklist.
It's funny, ads with the most tenants, they're so locked up you can't even have a conversation with them. And outside the armed forces, the only ads with single-digit tenant counts are just vacuuming floors. The most impressive ones, like what you've got here, fall somewhere in the middle. Sorry, went on a tangent there. Only thing left is the evaluation.
What gets evaluated?
Total financial worth for insurance purposes. Yeah, the insurance companies made sure we had very accurate algorithms for this. No room for human error, they insisted, with no sense of irony. Wow. I mean, I knew it was custom, but...
What price could they have possibly... That's a lot of digits.
You should know these formula are pretty conservative with their estimates. Stingy, even.
If Sarah's really David's last and greatest work, they say some things are priceless, but when you force an insurance algorithm to pick a number...
Try not to get any scratches on it, I guess.
$1 billion baby.
Mm-hmm.
You spoke differently back there. With Dawes, you spoke like he did, it seemed.
Like I copied his accent?
You seem to mirror his affect, his tone.
It's called being friendly. What's your point?
It was just an observation.
You can choose to keep those to yourself, you know. No tenet required.
Why were you so concerned about registering me in the first place, Adonai?
For the same reason I wouldn't drive around in a car without a license plate. Any cop, or even just a well-placed camera, could have spotted your barcode and seen that it wasn't set up with any actual data.
And then they would have arrested me, and then they would have thrown me in the slammer.
No, they would have arrested me and put you in an evidence locker.
An android can't get arrested?
People get arrested. Property gets seized and then smashed. Great. You put us over the weight limit.
I did no such thing.
Morgan, counselor, your presence has been requested on the upper floors.
Who's asking?
Vice President of Android Futures, Helen Young.
Shouldn't have assumed I still had the opening move. Tell her I'll be right up.
I will redirect your elevator now.
Taking control of your elevator is very
Convenient?
forceful. As if Noble is trying to just directly steer your investigation.
If Noble wanted to shut me down, they wouldn't bother to be subtle.
I suppose they could simply refuse to cooperate.
Or just let the elevator drop. I feel like I should pull it up for the record. Oh, also you can see that when it's doing this, we get the video distortion on the UI as well. But I did want to pull up Sarah's profile real quick. She weighs 200 kilograms.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Good for her.
Because of her full metal skeleton.
That is
So, like-
over 50 kilograms higher than Sasha.
Uh-huh.
That is, for the record, 440 pounds.
Oh,
Yes.
so she's Dorothy from Big O.
In a 160 centimeter body. That's Android's
Whoa.
baby.
That little girl is dense.
Martial arts, carbonation, collarbones are her likes. Just likes collarbones. Talents, I'm
carbonation.
good at lots of things. This is also a very OT
not sure
character
how
line. I'm not sure
skills
how
differ.
skills differ from talents.
Yeah.
She also likes the 180 rule.
It's a good like. You can tell she likes movies.
Watching a poorly composited movie and just pointing at the screen and hissing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't think we have to look at any of these others quite yet. If you at home want to look at more of those, the game is, I think, still
Play the game.
$8.50 for like the next 24 hours or so, and then it goes up to 10 full. Actually, I am going to take a minute. I have to go use the restroom, so I'm going to do the rare thing that I never do and actually put on the BRB screen.
Oh, that's perfect. I'm going to use this opportunity to do the same.
All right, be right back.
I guess it's just me and Ben
It's
to
just
pad
you
time
and me.
to have extremely awkward conversation like we have never really interacted before. Isn't that weird? We're like the Piccolo and Vegeta fight, Ben.
Did you know they've never streamed together?
Did you know Ben and Oates have never streamed together?
Ben and Oates, the Liam and Pat of the best friends.
Does it... Does this mean we get to do the Shut Up and Jam Barkley game together?
God, yes.
See, that's why we're the best duo.
The secret best duo.
Yeah.
Folks, you need to give us money so that we can stream everything I want to stream, because I would love to stream Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden. That game is so fucking hilarious.
It is, unfortunately.
Hello, I'm back.
Welcome
God,
back.
it's been so- Hi, Saturn. You just missed a wonderful conversation. It was very informative.
Oh, what?
I think, unfortunately, I've been named the Liam of the group.
I don't. Huh. I feel like I have to be the Liam of the group because you have to be the Wooly because you're third, right?
Ah, that is true.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah. Also, you're the most like Liam, where you'll just say one thing that will floor everyone else.
I'm like Liam because I'm the baby of the group.
That's also very
That's true.
true.
that's also
You're an
very true.
infant.
This
There we
this
go.
came up because Oates and I were joking that the two of us doing an LP together, we would be the Pat and Liam duo.
I see. I can see that. I can see that though.
Yeah.
I think we got our own steez. Anyway,
We do.
We're back. Sarah, you're back and ready and set up and everything?
I am.
Great, because I think we're getting one of your characters in this scene again, I think.
Isn't
Actually,
Oates playing
Or is that
young?
Oates' characters? Oh, you know what? That is
I
Oates'
think I think
character.
we're young.
Yes, because
Oh.
Oates got all the MILFs. That's right.
Look at her.
That's right.
That's right.
I'll try to give you more MILFs next time, I promise.
No, it's okay. Oates can have all the MILFs. I don't care.
I
this
feel
is-
like knowing the artist's prerogatives, we'll have a healthy assortment of both MILFs and bimbos, and we can split them equitably based on our need as individuals.
Don't worry, I'll continue to voice all of the tired guys.
I am sure there will continue to be plenty of those, too.
There's so many tired guys. It's incredible.
Right. Speaking first is a sign of weakness, is it? And here I thought I could just avoid wading into the swamp of corporate pretend power dynamics. We're going to play along, if only because I feel it feels correct to Morgan's character to just be a little insincere. 'Cause she knows it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
and that's the important thing to her.
And look, we don't got all day. We're on the clock here.
Exactly.
That's right. We got a murder to solve.
I don't have time for this inverted staring contest. Enjoying the view?
I've always liked this time of day.
Not too muggy for you?
No. I never liked a clear blue sky. It always seemed cold to me.
You're in luck. The sky gets more colorful every year.
Because of all the gases. Yeah.
As the air quality drops. Childish, isn't it? Marveling at the small sheen of rainbow dancing on the surface of a massive oil spill. Apologies for waxing poetic. It's been a very unusual 24 hours around here.
Dr. Jung,
Just miss is fine.
Miss Jung, I get the feeling you didn't bring me up here to talk about the weather.
No, I brought you up here to express my condolences. I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thank you, though I could say the same. I know you and David worked together for many years.
Yes, we did. But as much as I'd like to just drop everything and process, the company wheels don't stop spinning for anything. Or anyone. Was Dawes of any help?
She sent him? Trying to be helpful, or just trying to control the narrative? He was great. But that must mean you know why I'm here.
I don't want to make assumptions.
No need, I'll be explicit. I'm here as an officer of the court, which means I'm bound by law to document every rock I turn over and every person I speak to.
Yes. The lawyers made all that very clear. Lawyers? You have an android? It's not one of ours.
You can tell that quickly? Got all the faces memorized?
It's easy enough to remember the major archetypes we use, yes.
If you're nuts about your work, maybe. It's a recent acquisition. Very recent, in fact. One of David's last requests, apparently.
David asked you to take it? I've been told that you've been to David's estate already.
The police gave me full access to the scene.
Then you know that he wasn't alone last night.
Yes, there was a single witness who met with him and called emergency services when he fainted.
I was that witness.
Really?
Dun,
Obviously.
dun, dun.
There aren't that many people David would bother meeting with in person, let alone welcoming them into his home and offering them a drink. I also knew that Jung is his superior on paper, or his superior on paper, if not in fame, and I knew that the witness had Executive Plan 3 insurance, so they had to be higher up than David. Well then, do your lawyers know we're having this conversation?
Of course. They're pulling their hair out about it as we speak.
I can't imagine why. The police cleared you. And you were well within your rights to ask for some privacy given the high-profile nature of all that's happened. So why call me up here? Why cut through all the red tape your lawyers painstakingly hid you behind?
Eventually, you, or some clever lawyer like you, would get the record opened. Through legal means or otherwise. The company's enemies are legion, and they have a prying knife for every occasion.
Still, that would have taken time. Time you could use to get ahead of what would be the biggest PR hurdle Noble's ever seen.
Touché.
And...
So perhaps the truth of the matter is that I simply don't want to hide. David was my colleague for several years. If I were in your shoes, I would have questions as well.
You're doing this for my sake.
No. My reasons are purely selfish. I'm only hoping that talking to someone whose job isn't to defend me from all consequences might prove therapeutic.
If she wants to play confessional, that's fine by me. But is that really all that's going on here? Why don't you start from the beginning, then? You went to his home last night?
Yes, at around 7:30 p.m. The building's penumbra captured all of that quite clearly.
He fell ill around 8 p.m., so you spent half an hour together. Why the late call, in person?
We had an intense discussion yesterday afternoon. David never came in on Saturdays, and I didn't want to spend the weekend glaring at him through screens, so I visited, and he let me in, and we talked.
About?
The good old days, if you can believe that. Back when we were both new to the company, eager to make a name for ourselves.
How long ago was that?
7 or 8 years ago?
Miss Young?
Putting a number on it, it doesn't sound that long ago, but it feels... We spent a while like that, just talking. He was lively and sharp, and I never would have thought that a few minutes later that he would be dead. That he would commit suicide in front of me.
A firm reply. What happened?
8:15, he said he wanted to toast. He got up, walked back into his workshop, and then he must have went down into his basement to get us a bottle. I checked some messages in the meantime, enjoyed the view.
In other words, she stayed on camera.
Came back with a bottle of whiskey and 2 plastic cups. We drank, and we talked. He got quieter, spoke less. I thought he was just getting drunk. I didn't get worried until he started to fall asleep.
You tried to wake him?
He wasn't responding. I tried to shake him awake, but he didn't seem... I left him and ran to the kitchen to use the security system.
Didn't think to use your phone?
No. I suppose I didn't. But it worked out. The Penumbra's emergency protocol summoned a VTOL straight to his helipad with one button press. When I returned to the parlor, he was limp. I moved him to the floor as delicately as I could. He had a heartbeat, but I just did what I could until they arrived.
You went with them to the hospital, I take it.
Yes, they insisted. They checked my vitals and a tox screen, which came back clean.
So did David's, for all the good it did him.
I wasn't paying close attention to what they were saying at that point. But I'm sure they ran through every step of the CCE SOP. That's just what they're paid to do.
You seem certain that it was a suicide.
Yes.
Why?
As I said, he got quieter as the time passed, and he spoke less. But the last thing he said to me, the last clear thing he said, was that he was happy ending it here. Said he was content. And he downed his glass after that. He drank every last drop. Does that sound like David Asher to you?
Curious, restless, perfectionist David? No, I guess it doesn't. Before we get into this, I want to say I love her outfit a lot. This,
Me too.
low-cut top she has that also has, like, the middle finger gloves and, like, the sideways jacket thing over it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great...
strong design.
It's a great, like, not just a cyberpunk outfit, but, like, a conservative businesswoman cyberpunk outfit. It's very
Yeah,
cool.
exactly.
You said CCE standard operating procedure a moment ago. What is that?
CCE stands for Counter Corporate Espionage, which is just industry doublespeak for corporate espionage. Only used in self-defense, you understand?
So Noble anticipates employees at your level getting poisoned?
They give us all kinds of CCE training. Subtly, of course, usually disguised on the itinerary as leadership workshops or psychiatric evaluations.
They train you to expect to get murdered at these leadership workshops?
Murder is fairly rare at our level. More likely, they'll want us too sick to work. Let us drain company resources in a hospital bed while our position sits vacant.
That's smart. Like snipers purposefully avoiding vital areas to strain the enemy's medical resources.
That's terrible. Like snipers purposely avoiding vital areas in order to strain the enemy's medical resources. That's nothing compared to what they want to turn an asset. Feel ill for the rest of your life with an undiagnosable malady. Or become our mole and we'll send you the antidote every 2 weeks.
That's a nasty piece of work.
It's a nasty line of work. Consulting.
I'm sorry?
That's just what they call it. Can't exactly put corporate spy on your CV.
So every consultant I've ever met at a cocktail party was actually...
Depends. Did they say that they're consultants? Or did they say that they were in consulting?
How the hell am I supposed to remember? So, do your people think that what happened to David was a deliberate attack?
Noble's competitors have been trying to get to David for years. And that's the timescale their plans operate on. If this was an attack from a rival corporation, the company would have seen it coming. And they'd probably have struck first.
I've been curious about this ever since I saw the scene. Why the plastic cups?
There's the story there. David and I got hired around the same time, under similar circumstances. Headhunted while finishing our higher education. During recruiting, the company claimed to want us badly, but in practice, our actual authority was...
Inexperienced and overpaid. You must have been extremely unpopular.
You don't mince words. Well, we didn't either back then. We were loudly trying to convince our superiors that our entire sales model for androids was antiquated and self-defeating.
The two of them made the one-point doctrine. That's not the story I've heard in Noble commercials and Noble-sponsored media. And come to think of it, it's not a story I ever heard from David himself.
We had this deadline, self-imposed, but still, a deadline. We wanted to get our pitch to the president of international sales by the end of the day. 7 p.m. rolls around and people start filtering out. David still has his head buried in diagrams and sales figures. Imagine a technical man like him, a programmer, trying to make a sales pitch. The clock hits 9 o'clock and even the zombies start heading home. I turn to David, tell him that's not gonna happen. We're nowhere near finished, and the day's long since been over. He looked at me like I'm the only other person on a sinking boat, and I've just stopped pitching water, and he says,
This one's Ben.
The president lives on the other side of the globe. We've still got all night until his end of day.
And now we're back to Oates.
we wrapped up at 4 in the morning. Just us and the cleaning staff. Back then, only half of them were ads. He finally sends the message, and I'm ready to collapse. I've got nothing. I stared blankly at his inbox for the next 40 minutes, hoping that the harsh light would give us the energy to work through the next day. And we got a response. It wasn't long, but it showed he was interested. I had been turned down so many times before then. Ignored and placated, passed up, ghosted, and... but together, David and we had finally gotten a win. So David asks if I've got anything to drink. I've got a bottle of some swill in a cabinet at my desk, but he doesn't want to drink from the bottle, says he wants to toast. So he sat there at 5:19 in the morning, toasting awful vodka to one another in cups we grabbed from the break room. Toasting our first victory against the corporate beast. Between the lack of sleep and the drinking, the next day at work was hell.
Sounds like a good memory.
Plastic cups and liquor. That was our little ritual. So I didn't think twice when he presented me with my cup. It was ceremony for us.
As VP of Android Futures, you're David's superior, aren't you?
That's correct.
Didn't you join the company at around the same time?
David was always more interested in his work than he was in climbing the ladder. He didn't like playing the corporate politics game.
So was he unpopular around here?
Not unpopular, no. Not the great David Asher. Misunderstood, perhaps.
How so?
He could be blunt. Demanding, some might say. He wasn't trying to be, it was just... Not everyone could work at the same pace as he did. For as long as he did.
Even with the whole company huffing those inhalers, they couldn't keep pace with David? Speaking of which, I don't see any at Jung's desk. Maybe it's just not something you leave out in the open at her level. So you would say that his work-life balance was...
Balance implies the two are at odds with one another. We use work-life harmony here at the company.
Fascinating. So was he in harmony?
No. David always had plenty of suitors, but he was never willing to put the time in. But I'm sure you're more knowledgeable than I am on that subject.
Right.
What do you mean?
I had to help him draft a lot of apology notes over the years for misunderstandings and double bookings.
Scandalous.
David was a ladies' man and also a man's man.
David. That's right.
David being forced into a t-shirt says me and the bad bitch I pulled by being autistic, and it's just a company photo of the entire production floor. The A16 only entered production this year, correct?
Correct. Pre-orders started last holiday, and we began shipping in the first quarter.
I understand that you were instrumental in the success of Warm Androids.
I played my part, supervising the launch, yeah.
Weren't you the one who designed synatonin, the factor that enabled communication between synthetic and organic parts?
I'm surprised you've heard of that. I did lead that project, yes, but that was years ago. At the time, synatonin was little more than a novelty, a dead end. It wasn't until David took the reins on the A16 that we found a use for it.
Took the reins?
He was lead programmer on limb coordination, facial expression, exhaustion parameters. And he designed the synthetic nerves that made all of that possible.
David did all of that? That's a lot more than just programming. Was he always so gifted in that many fields? Did he fill those roles in the A14 or the A15?
No. He used to stick steadfast to his role as a software architect. That was his field of expertise, and he didn't wander far. But 2 or 3 years back, he started sitting on other departments, taking notes. Soon, he was joining the discussion, proposing new ideas. And eventually, they came to follow his lead.
Just like that?
Just like that.
So he just applied himself and soon he was leading other departments?
That's the kind of genius that Dr. David Asher was.
Maybe they weren't paying him enough.
The company profited the most, of course, but the entire industry benefited from his vision and leadership. His loss will be felt for years.
So this android, Sarah, even Dawes couldn't find any real details on where it came from.
It's not in any of our systems?
I'm afraid not. Did David ever talk to you or anyone else at the company about a pet project?
Pat? No. He never gave me an indication like that. And if he did talk to me about it, I seriously doubt he confided in anyone else at the company. David didn't trust anyone higher on the chain than himself, and anyone below him, frankly, they couldn't possibly hope to give him advice. He never mentioned me?
Aww.
Never.
Androids don't come cheap. You never heard about him requisitioning parts or resources? There were never any discrepancies with his company credit card?
Company's accountants aren't mirthless, even by industry standards. They couldn't humor anybody. Not even David Asher. If they had ever detected financial discrepancies, there would have been an uproar loud enough you could hear it in the mailroom. You have a mailroom? Not since the 30s. Just a figure of speech.
Sarah has never been so disappointed.
He couldn't have taken resources from the company without leaving a record. But no one would deny Dr. David Asher information. He would have been able to obtain all the necessary data to build his own android. Then, with enough time and money, he could privately purchase the raw materials himself.
Don't understand it. It must have taken him years to build Sarah. He wasn't doing anything illegal, except the hacking stuff. So why keep it a secret?
I don't know. But he was private and a perfectionist. Perhaps he simply wasn't proud of his results.
Damn.
Brutal.
Could be. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. I'm sure this has been a difficult day for you.
A difficult day for all of us.
A message from Fran? I'm running out of leads to chase. The brat better have good news.
Are you really going to take this to court?
That's my plan. The circumstances may be irregular, but I'm still defending a client from a criminal charge. It's my responsibility to argue that he's not guilty of what he's been accused of.
And is that what you believe? That he didn't commit suicide?
I guess I haven't decided what I believe. Would you kindly slow the hell down?
Sorry, Adonai. Was I walking too quickly for you?
That wasn't walking. That was speed walking up 2 flights of stairs. It's very different.
Speed walking? Sounds like a powerful technique. Is it like this Zhen Chao?
Just let me catch my breath for a minute.
Adonai? Is it possible that you are out of shape
No.
But since we left the cab, your heart rate has...
I'm not wearing the right clothes. Or the right shoes.
Is that so?
Yes. Also, I didn't stretch or hydrate, and the sun's reaching its zenith.
That would have been several hours ago. Do you mean the air temperature?
You said it would be a short walk from street level, so I prepared myself, mentally, for a short walk. Then you took off like a rocket, and you didn't mention we'd have to go upstairs. Are you sure this place is even back here?
The reviews online were quite clear. It's worth the trouble finding it.
Maybe if you're a mountain climber. When I sent Fran hunting for a musician in David's circles, I expected him to bring me someone from the city orchestra, or a jazz club. The champagne flute and teacup kind of musician. But this is the tequila and neon part of town.
It should be in view if we turn... Adonai, be careful.
Of what?
It's a stray, and it's burying its fangs, too. It could be carrying diseases. You should...
Relax.
Adonai, it's growling.
It's not growling at me. See?
So it's just me that it doesn't like.
Too much static.
How'd you get it to calm down?
It's an animal, not a monster. It wants to be calm.
Do you like animals?
What kind of cold-blooded freak doesn't like animals?
Do you have a pet?
Nope, never have.
Why not?
Because I don't want to take care of a pet.
That seems counterintuitive to me.
Well, it makes perfect sense to me, and I don't need it to make sense to you.
But...
You notice you're only this talkative when it's just the two of us? Just an observation. You shy or something? Did David program you to have android anxiety?
It's generally only appropriate to respond to comments that are addressed to oneself. Today, I have rarely been addressed directly by people. Other than you.
In other words, you're shy.
That is not what I'm... Can I try petting it?
There's no law against it.
Ain't no law that says an android can't pet a dog.
That is every good game that was ever made for the PS4.
Yeah.
I don't think we're
This
going to
is
actually
the
do the trial tonight, but we are going to get to the trial tonight. We're getting close.
Okay, cool.
Now to see if Isaac Porter is as habitual as Fran claims.
Do you think Father was close with this man? This man who you've never met?
I think he was close with him, yeah. At some point. I had some help making that deduction. Fran saw that their metadata showed a significant cooling of interaction between the two of them, particularly over the past month. But Fran also saw a phone call between the two, last night.
So they were close. Do you think they were sleeping together?
That is completely inappropriate for me or anyone to speculate about.
Inappropriate? Adonai, it's only sex.
I'm getting a very important text message from my private investigator. Excuse me.
Did you catch the killer yet?
No.
What the hell? I sent you his position?
I'm at his position. I haven't spoken to Porter yet. Anyway, there's no reason to suspect him right now.
Lame.
Surprised you're invested all of a sudden. Isn't David Ashore a corporate sellout in your eyes?
Everyone's a corporate sellout. But Asher gets respect. If I'm a demolitions expert, he's like a really good architect.
That's almost sweet, I think.
Asher started out working in code. So in the architect analogy, by today's standards, he's like, I don't know. As a kid, he built all his bricks by hand.
Also important, because I think it might be coming through not as clear on the thing. Started working in Cube, which, important distinction there. I don't know if they actually say it specifically or not, or just imply it, but it's the predecessor coding language to Tesseract, because a Tesseract is a four-dimensional cube.
Oh, that's fun. Okay.
Ah, that's camp.
Or something.
You know that lit homework can help you with forming analogies?
Eat this analogy. Did that come through to the character break? It's supposed to be a guy giving you the finger.
I take it Cube is a programming language. What's special about it? Oh, it does come up right here. I forgot.
Pretty much anything in the last anything coded in the last 20 years is web-based. You code with the assumption that you'll always be connected. So you can depend on having fat libraries of references to lean on. I don't know why I can't read all of this. And if something does go wrong, your errors get reported to you automatically.
But not Cube?
You can look it up. But basically, Cube was originally for robotics. Machinery. Stuff that had to operate in mines. Under the ocean. Middle of nowhere fields with zero signal service. So Cube had to be self-sufficient.
How rugged?
Where did Asher learn to cube anyways? It's older than dirt. Like, from the 40s.
I don't know. I think his father had a machine shop or something.
Big.
Yeah, well, David didn't like to talk about his family. And I never asked.
What did your private investigator have to say out of night?
Not telling. Well, there's the obvious progression point, but we do have more gubbins we can read. The stage for the talent. Pretty close to the floor. Guess it fits with the whole round table aspect of this place. Everyone's on more or less equal footing, dancing in the dark, once you get past the bouncer.
Do you think they might have met here?
David and Porter? I can't see David walking in here.
Because you found the walk so challenging?
Because it's too loud to relax, and not dark enough to be anonymous.
I see.
What's that face? You got an opinion to share?
The atmosphere is not bad in here, but the music isn't quiet.
I'll find you a survey to fill out before we leave. What kind of music does an android even like?
Early 21st century punk rock.
Sparkling eyes, drooling mouth. Is that just you, or does that go for all androids?
I haven't met all androids. I can't speak for them.
Wonder what they'd say.
If they're smart, they'd say that music peaked with early 21st century punk rock.
Debate settled.
We never did any better than Fallout Boy.
That's right.
She's so smart.
Smartest little girl in the whole world.
That's right.
She's just auto-playing Welcome to the Black Parade on loop, like every single day.
Yeah.
A
I
bar.
don't know if androids dream of electric sheep, but I do know they dream of the
Androids don't dream of electric sheep, but they do dream of Patrick Wentz. A bar, stocked full of colorful selections and busy bartenders. Hope this isn't the kind of club you can order food in. Only time bar food is any good is when you're drunk enough to forget the taste in the gap between chewing and swallowing. So you can, like, eat things?
Yes, I can.
What, like android food?
There is no such product.
So what do androids eat?
Online user guides for Nobles War models clarify that they don't eat anything in the traditional sense. They get their energy from electrical charging, usually wireless. Whenever they need to eat, it's to replenish specific vitamins and electrolytes.
Sounds a lot like what mod users go through with their sports drinks and energy bars. and charger separation anxiety.
According to the net, warm androids can ingest nutrient-rich processed carbohydrate pellets if they need to forego electrical charging long term.
Processed pellets? You mean like kibble? Like dog food?
No, it is not like dog food at all.
Can you buy it from the pet store?
It seems that you can.
How is this something you have to look up anyway?
Because I've always just eaten whatever Father gave me.
Like what?
Marbled beef, never hydroponic avocados, foie gras, that sort of thing.
I am not paying for any of that.
You will eat the cup
You're getting
noodle
the
and you will
kibble.
like it.
Yeah.
Ah, there's one more thing.
The baby got to eat fancy lobster mac and cheese.
You gotta give that baby a cultured palate. What kind of reading material gets left out in a club? A tabloid interview? Oates or Sarah, because Ben's gonna get some talking pretty soon.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll do it then. Exclusive sit down with luxury. Heard her name on everyone's lips. You've seen her face in magazines and commercials, and then double checked to make sure the photos weren't labeled as edited. Now get all your burning questions about her answered here in our exclusive interview with a mysterious young woman who's being called, in perhaps the only truly unanimous vote the net's ever seen, the most beautiful woman in the world. Why the name? People think it's an ego thing, but it was just a random username I picked back when I was grassroots. Then it was a pseudonym to give me a little shade from all the attention. Now it's a brand, and I can't change it without setting the stock market into a spin. So you're certainly influential. After partnering with you, Inti saw a 3,000% increase in share price. Hey, I'm happy for them, of course. Let's be honest, it's a pain at times like this. She gestures towards her clothes, a plain white t-shirt and gym shorts with no branding visible. On anyone else, it might seem sloppy or even unflattering. On her, it only makes her natural beauty stand out that much more. What are you wearing, by the way? Can't wear anyone unless I'm attending something. If I don't dress like this, all my sponsors fall into bidding wars every time else. Does it stress you? All that attention? Stress is bad for your skin, right? They say mine's flawless. Can't argue with that. So do you have a skincare routine? Any tips you'd like to share? Be a little bratty, act a little spoiled, keeps you young. And how are you exactly? Everyone's dying to know. 18 to 29, now and forever.
Am I luxury?
Don't get stuck on a cliffhanger like that. Hurry! Logins below so you can read the rest. Quickly! Time is running out!
She is 18 or 29 and she does not need this.
That is the OKKO post-transition pipeline of being approximately 18 to
Yeah.
That is
29 years
correct.
old. Well, however old she is or isn't, Luxury's got one hell of a mind for business. It might do her more good than that. It might do her more good than that face in the end. Maybe. It's one hell of a face. In the meantime, she's powerful. Some rises are too meteoric for even the Megs to grab the reins on. At this point, Luxury's got them at her mercy. She can send their stocks into disarray with one selfie. Good for her.
Good for her!
Okay. Yeah, so this is also the thing where a lot of them say advanced for this one. If you just go click on his thing and be like, well, there he is. Do we want to just go talk to him? And then you can be like, no.
Oh,
But now that I'm
funny.
out of things, they're like, okay, we have to go talk to him now. Okay, yeah, that's him, all right. Looks like he's killing time before his sets tonight.
Are you unsure how to proceed, Adonai?
I'm sure that you need to hang back. As for me, I'll play it straight. Be blunt. Isaac Porter?
What's up?
My name's Morgan. I was David's friend. Right now, I'm his lawyer. Can we talk?
Depends. Were you a friend from work?
No.
Over here.
Thanks, Isaac.
Don't thank me yet. I might just sit here, shut my mouth, and stick you with my tab. So what kind of lawyer are you? What kind of friend?
I'm his defense attorney.
Think you missed the bus on that one, yeah?
And I'm a friend that needs to know what happened yesterday.
Doesn't everyone? Try somewhere else, friendly lawyer. I haven't seen him in weeks.
You might not have seen him, but we both know that you spoke with him over the phone yesterday, only a short time before he died.
How the hell?
Isaac, it's pretty obvious that you don't want this particular spotlight to linger on you any longer than necessary. So why don't we cut to the chase? No lies, no playing coy.
Fine.
Sarah?
Yes, Adonai?
The hell? Is that thing transmitting?
I am not streaming any data, no.
Porter doesn't seem to recognize Sarah either. One more person David was keeping secrets from. I need to record everything for the court.
Fine.
You two were together, is that correct?
We were together. I ended it. Yesterday.
Care to elaborate?
On our entire relationship?
Look, you can tell me everything once and I can get it on record. Or you can hear the same questions over and over again from 1,000 different cops and Megs for the next 3 months.
We met in a bar. I had seen him come in a few times, each time with someone else. Each time talking with his mouth, but not looking with his eyes. It ticked me off. Scribbling on napkins and letting his single gin and tonic sweat under the table for 2 hours. His dates would all go to the bathroom or take a call and slip out the back. One of them didn't make it 10 minutes. And he'd still sit there for the rest of the night, unfazed. I couldn't tell if he was oblivious or stupid or shameless or the most confident man in the world. And he ticked me off. One night, things were slow and my set had been canceled and his date hadn't even bothered to think of an excuse for bailing, so I asked him why he insisted on coming here, night after night. Just to ignore vapid people he wasn't interested in and a shitty bar with drinks he didn't like. And he just said, "Because I like your music." Man, did that tick me off. It was cute early on. Him being so passionate about work I could barely pretend to understand. And I liked that we gave each other space, you know? Felt like we were being mature or whatever.
Until?
There was no until. No one day where everything turned sour. But at some point, I started to understand where his priorities were. And how I ranked in them. Like I said, he was passionate about his work. I just wrongly assumed that he would also be that passionate about me. I pulled away a little, wanted to see if he'd notice, if he'd miss me. Testing him, like that isn't the biggest red flag in the world. He never budged. I could ignore him for days and he wouldn't even be the least bit ashamed to see me. If I picked a fight, he'd never get angry or upset, he'd just apologize. He didn't want to fight with me. Guess he was never invested enough to bother. It was my mistake. I watched him sit there all those nights, not giving a shit when people walked away, and still I had this stupid idea that somehow, for whatever reason, I would be different. And I would be special. But I wasn't. So I ended it.
Last night?
I called him. Didn't expect he'd pick up. I had everything prepared to leave a message with an assistant or ad or whatever. But he answered. First ring. Without hesitation, shame, or awkwardness. And that ticked me off. So I told him exactly how valued he had made me feel the past few months. I told him exactly how insignificant I felt as the boyfriend of the illustrious Dr. David Ashore.
And what did he say?
He apologized. And then he asked me if that was all I called to tell him.
Brutal.
Woof.
I hung up after that. Spent the rest of the night wrapped in warm disdain for him and his coldness. He had made that easy for me. I went to sleep hurt, but clean, ready for something new. And then this morning I wake up to see that my ex killed himself not 2 hours after he let me walk out of his life without so much as a don't. What the hell, man? What the hell, David? And now, you're just the tip of an iceberg of lawyers and reporters and buzzards. Parasites who want to hear about the man who sent David Asher over the edge. I never wanted to be his last lifeline or the straw that broke his back. I just wanted to be his goddamn boyfriend. Turns out that was asking for too much.
It's yet to be determined whether David committed suicide.
You serious?
You don't have all the facts.
Can you do? Any one of them point to anything else? Thought so.
Thanks for your time. I'll let you get back to it.
That's it? No summons?
The court has no need for you to retell a sad story like that.
The court, huh?
Sorry to bother you at work. Sarah, let's go.
Your discography is impressive.
Yeah. Thanks.
And your range is remarkable. So it pained me to see that all your works in the last quarter have been so melancholy. I think...
Well, what the hell would you know about any of that? What's the matter? Can't find the words? Need to steal them from somewhere first, butcher them before shitting them back out?
I was not
I'm
trained
sorry.
on any days that
Pardon me. My mistake. Really. Not your fault you're only standing here because rich prick nerds were allowed to rob the world blind for most of the century.
Sarah, we are leaving. What the hell was that about?
he was under the false impression that I was programmed using a massive automated learning module in early 21st century.
Not that. Why'd you talk to him?
I just felt that I should say something to him.
A word of advice. People don't want comfort from strangers, especially when they're androids. They want it from the people they want it from. Coming from anywhere else, it's just corn syrup on a parched tongue. Doesn't matter how sweet it is. They'll just start gagging. Oh,
You
sorry.
know a lot about people, don't you, Adonai?
Compared to you, I'm a goddamn savant. Come on. There's not much time left.
Is there still somewhere you want to investigate?
Somewhere I need to return to, actually. Porter was right. As things stand, I don't have any evidence that could establish an alternative interpretation of the facts. But if there did exist hard evidence that could prove his death wasn't a suicide, there's only one place I could find it at this point. I know we're on a short time thing, so I'll do one more scene, and I think that should get us to the actual court. So next episode can be court shit.
Yeah.
Court shit.
We're
That's
going
what David's
back.
been doing this entire time, instead of courtship.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Court shit.
he's
Yeah.
been doing court shit. We're going back to his house, by the way. Specifically, his basement.
The basement. You sure you don't want another look at the crime scene?
I'm all out of time. Gotta approach this from the other angle.
The other angle?
You know, inductive versus deductive. Flip the chessboard and all that.
Oh! Oh!
Hey, I know that one.
Haven't you ever read a mystery novel?
I've read one particularly long mystery novel. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Is that the Yumi Neko reference?
There's a second
Yumi
one.
Neko reference.
There is a second one. I will say,
Oh, okay.
this is funny, though, is I know at least... So I know the artist for this has seen some of Umineko, like maybe about half of it. And I think there's someone at Nth Circle who has read Umineko. But my recollection is that Brian, the lead author / creative director, all that, hasn't actually read all of Umineko, is my understanding. Or any of
Delightful.
Umineko.
So me and Sarah are ahead of somebody else. Finally.
I think so. I could be wrong there, but my understanding is that he's not actually familiar with it for the very understandable reason of it's a 160-hour-long visual novel.
Yeah, no shit.
I've seen mystery films.
Well, let's see if you paid any attention then. What killed David Ashore?
Poison.
10 points.
There's a point system?
Memories of Bakano surging through me.
I
Yeah.
was about to say.
Out of how many?
How many?
Now, how did that poison get into his bloodstream?
He must have ingested it orally.
And how do we know that?
The medical examiner found no injection marks or wounds.
And if he had inhaled it?
Inhaled it? Why?
Leave the whys to someone who actually understands them.
I won't be able to understand anything if I don't practice.
Practice by answering my question.
I suppose it's possible. But highly unlikely. We would have found a delivery system for it in the building, like an inhaler.
Right. An airborne poison is either shoved in your face or sprayed over a wide area. And no one around David has shown any kind of symptoms. So all we're left is oral intake.
Eliminating the impossible. What's next, Adonai?
Jung's corroborated statement was that David didn't exhibit any irregular symptoms or behavior until he started drinking that night. And the police didn't find anything unusual in any of the food or drink in his home.
Except for his cup, the results were inconclusive.
Jung was drinking from the same bottle and the same type of cup, but didn't get sick. We have to conclude then that David's cup alone was poisoned.
That all seems logical. And consistent with the police's theory of suicide. So, why are we down here?
Minus 10 points.
Back to 0?
David left the parlor and came back with whiskey and 2 cups. Jung told us as much, and apparently the cameras upstairs support her story.
So we have to conclude then that he got them both from this bar?
Better! 5 points. Did he also get the poison from the cabinet?
The police have been in here since we left. According to their ARCS file, they didn't find anything that matches the poison down here.
So the poison somehow went straight into his drinking cup, then. I need to flip this around again.
But if you turn something 360 degrees, you're just back to...
If I were the prosecution, what would I want more than anything? Proof that David knowingly added the poison himself.
He wouldn't do that.
And you can make that claim because there's no video evidence to contradict you. How long was David off camera?
From 7:36 p.m. to 7:40 p.m., when he left the parlor to get liquor from his bar.
So if we had David on camera for those 4 minutes and he didn't poison himself in that time?
He would have had a perfect alibi for the crime.
Proving his innocence.
But Adonai, we don't have footage of that. There are no security cameras down here.
I think there are.
Ooh.
What do you mean?
This whole building is coated head to toe in Penumbra security systems courtesy of Noble. Every console, every corner, every android on every floor, it's all plugged into Penumbra. Except that.
Panel is...
Manufactured by Cotter Security Systems. Why would David put a console for a different security system in exactly one corner of his penthouse?
I've never given it much thought.
Well, it's been bothering me all day. But my curiosity alone can't scale a 64-digit wall.
You mean,
Signal hijacking, or whatever you want to call it. Have you tried it before?
it is illegal and unnecessary. Father would not... He would not have installed hidden cameras in his own home.
At the end of the day, I can't make you do anything. Well, actually, I probably can now that you're registered to me. But aren't you the one who wanted to prove his innocence?
Eliminate the impossible. I will need your express verbal command.
Not like David can press charges against us at this point. Do it. Did you really need me to say that?
For the purposes of record keeping, yes.
If you...
I've gotten past the 64-digit code, and I have found cameras. There are a number of them embedded in the room's walls and ceilings. As you theorized, they are on a separate network from the rest of the building.
Where are they feeding to, if not the penumbra system?
Behind my hibernation unit.
A false wall in the back of a safe?
I don't understand. Why would Father possibly have a hidden system of cameras inside his own home?
Beats me. He was brilliant and more than a little odd. Throw in a little money and odd becomes eccentric.
I see. I think.
I don't. The hell was he thinking? What was he afraid of? Why didn't he come to me for... Time's short. Gather facts now and leave the computation for later. What did David even do with all this equipment? Dry his laundry?
What makes you so sure he wasn't exercising?
Did you ever see him use any of this crap?
No. But he must have used the weights when I wasn't looking. Since he promised me that he'd take better care of his health.
Sarah, these weights are all maxed out. David couldn't have put up numbers like these even if he was piloting a frame.
Don't be so sure, Adonai.
Oh, right, this part. Pardon?
The following is a true story, based on primary sources who were present for the event and its aftermath. Copenhagen, 1981, 8:10 a.m., local time. A towering man with the musculature of a world-class professional rugby player enters the Global Danke Bank on Fredericksburg Lane. He explains to the bank teller that he has a bomb in his suitcase, and he wants his gym bag filled with unmarked bills. A security guard approaches him from behind with a nightstick and swings. But the man simply catches the weapon and bends it into a twisted knot with his massive dinner plate-sized hands. When asked to describe the suspect to the police afterwards, the teller had only this to say. That man was all muscle. The rest of the bank heist proceeds without incident and the man exits the building just as the police arrive on the scene, when suddenly, his suitcase explodes. But it's just a smokescreen. Local officers quickly recognize the ploy and rush towards the door, grabbing each of the hostages as they flee while desperately searching for the perpetrator. What they find instead is a diminutive, frail, sheepish young man, barely 160 centimeters tall, holding a gym bag full of money with no recollection of how he got there. Renowned psychologist and trained hypnotist Dr. Werner Kurtzer wrote the following in his diagnosis. Acute dissociative identity disorder. That's right. The man had a split personality. And so great was the disparity between his two halves that when they switched control, he physically changed, becoming taller, bulkier, and capable of previously unthinkable feats of strength. So be careful when you say a man like Father can't do, just because of how he looks on the outside.
Saturn, which Baki character is this?
All of them. My favorite part about this extended scene, by the way, aside from this being directly the Baki reference, is one of the lines in there is also the backdoor FGO reference in the middle of the Baki
I was
reference.
gonna say just that. Yeah.
At first I thought I was hallucinating that, but I looked it up. That sentence does not come from anywhere else. That is FGO exclusive.
Wait,
The
which
descrip-
sentence?
that man was all muscle. It's the entirety of the loading screen tooltip for Spartacus. Sarah, every single word you just said was false.
Huh?
Don't believe everything you read on the net.
Oh.
You survived the Baki reference. Congratulations, everybody.
Hooray!
What's the story with this, anyway? Some kind of fault in the foundation?
I don't know. I've never noticed that crack before.
Might want to get those eyes checked.
There's nothing wrong with my vision. This crack just must have been created during my most recent hibernation.
How? Did David drop a weight? A bunch of times, over and over, in the same spot? So is that the original?
It was appraised and confirmed to be genuine.
At least he didn't get ripped off. I'm a Philistine when it comes to this kind of stuff. What does an android say?
I see a meeting. Or perhaps an encounter? Two apex forces of nature, two kings of the forest. The stag and the tiger. I think.
Great. I'm officially less cultured than the robot. The liquor cabinet this mystery hinges on. The police have been through it all by now, and they didn't find foreign contents in any of the spirits. No poison to be found here. Well, not that kind of poison, anyway. In which case... Can I make you anything?
If you're offering, I'll have...
Sorry, you're way underage, aren't you? 2 years old or whatever?
Technically.
Took that one a lot worse than I expected. Cheer up! Maybe you'll find a mocktail if you climb the top of the ladder.
This is a rolling ladder. A kind of step ladder, not a ladder.
Yay!
There
Everybody
we
clap!
are! Yay!
I had to bite my
Air
tongue because I knew this one was coming. When you were like, oh, when you did the salt, it's kind of that. When she did the thing with the salt, it's kind of like the stepladder bit, and I was like, yeah. What?
Remember, a ladder extends, but a stepladder folds out.
And
It's important to know the distinction.
I'd bet my life savings that this subject will never come up again, ever.
Oh, you better put it in every case.
All right, let's refocus here. So there's some kind of hidden door behind your bunk bed, huh?
Essentially, though a bunk bed would imply a second or third.
How do we open it?
No, because it's a bunk bed because it's in the bunker.
Oh, it's a bunker bed.
Yeah. One moment. I see.
Got it open already?
I cannot open this door.
Why?
It is a Tethys Basics Sturdicure.
That anti-hack feature in its name is real?
It's a closed system, Adonai.
What the hell am I supposed to do now?
Strange. There was an if-then toggle enabled in the security parameters.
I don't follow.
When Father last adjusted the settings here, he made it so that the door would never open so long as I was hibernating.
And he made it so I was the only one who could wake her up. Meaning, this is a door that only I can open?
It'll be a 6-character password. Did you and Father have any influential moments in your life that revolved around a 6-letter word?
Nothing comes to mind.
Adonai has 6 letters.
Is there a code word that he knew that only I could learn? It's 6 characters. Who wants to take the first stab?
I mean,
Adonai.
Ben had a good idea. Yeah.
Ben. You are absolutely correct.
Yeah!
This is a fun one, because I briefly looked at the Steam community for this page. People get stuck here for a while.
That's funny.
Funny.
Because the thing is, there were multiple scenes earlier in this where you talk about, Morgan's past with them and his past with other characters, and you rack your brain going, Was there something fucking there? And the hint they give you is that if you keep fucking it up, like Sarah talks to you, and in all the dialogue that she talks to you, she refers to you directly as Adonai, just to jog your
That's
memory.
great.
But I didn't see a whole lot of them, but there's unique dialogue for if you like put in Morgan, for instance, where Sarah's just like, did you really just put in your own name? And she's like, well, yeah, it's 6 characters. It was worth a shot. Anyway,
It's
that's it.
opening. What was the password, Adonai?
You'd never guess.
It's Morgan, isn't it?
Definitely. Did feel a bit out of character, David utilizing so much cloak and dagger tech, and I've definitely been struggling with the idea of him doing home improvement. But one step in here and it all makes sense. It's a panic room.
Scary.
A panic room is a place for rich people to hide when people start bouncing bricks off their windows. They're typically not even on blueprints.
So, when Noble built this penthouse for one of their executives,
Someone slipped this into the mix, and it's remained in Noble's blind spot ever since. All David had to do was repurpose it. Make sure you're capturing all this. I don't want to miss my one chance because of a discovery technicality.
I understand, but you needn't specify.
There's also a thing, I don't remember the details of this, but the reason this gets so into the minutia of like stuff like Discovery, unlike, things like Ace Attorney usually don't, is I do believe that Brian was at one point like actually just is either like an actual lawyer or studied law. And at some point just like, I want to do this instead, it's more fun.
My memory is flawless. I can play back visuals, sounds, sensations. I can even give detailed reports on air particulates.
You mean you can smell?
Better than any human, and some canines. I
So
smell
does-
delightful.
Oh. So does it smell stale in here to you?
Stale?
It doesn't to me, almost like someone's been in here recently. Almost like someone visits here frequently. Alright, let's try booting up the computer.
You don't think the console is password protected?
2 physical doors, a 64-digit code, a half-ton Android, and a secret phrase. If David set a password on his PC after all that, I'm going back to the morgue to have a word with him. Absolutely, other one, dude. The attention to detail is really, it really elevates the experience, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Good, it's already signed in.
So you're looking for camera footage?
I'd also settle for a note plainly stating that he feared for his life. What am I doing? Here, you search for the video files. They'll probably be timestamped and formatted for short-range devices.
I have the subfolder. The cameras stream live data constantly, but the files are clipped at fairly regular intervals. Once every week, it seems. The most recent video file here has footage going back 8 days. It was accessed yesterday at around 4 p.m.
You were asleep then, so the only person who could get in here that time is David himself. Alright, let's see it then.
Of course, it's just that I am having difficulty.
Try double-clicking?
I've been trying to open the files from the moment I discovered them, Adonai. But they are encrypted.
Damn it, David. You leave me enough clues to get this far, but you won't let me use your computer? What's the brand on the encryption program? If I rush subpoena, they might have a backdoor I could bluff them into.
Files are not encrypted with any commercially available tool. This appears to be Father's own work.
Shit. If David Ashore handwrote the encryption on these files, there's no one alive who could... Hey. Oh, shit. I accidentally double-clicked. As like in the joke. Hey, was Dawes just flattering you back there? Or is your processing power really that special?
Adonai,
Can you break his encryption? Yes or no?
With enough time.
And how much time would that be?
I would estimate it at 2 to 6 hours.
That's a 4-hour window!
No matter how sophisticated, encryption is still just a code that must be deciphered. And when deciphering any code, progress proceeds exponentially. Which makes it particularly difficult to determine the amount of time required to complete the process.
2 to 6 hours. I don't have any better options. Get started.
I started 4 minutes and 23 seconds ago.
Finally showing some initiative. But you've been talking to me this whole time.
I have the ability to analyze data in parallel by utilizing subconscious processes, so long as the work required is ripped.
So you're doing it in the back of your head?
Actually, I'm speaking to you in the back of my head. I could give the decryption process my full undivided attention, but I would become non-responsive.
Hey, that's a pretty nifty feature. I'll have to keep that in mind. Alright, can you take the show on the road, or do we have to rip this computer out of the wall and find a battery?
I have copied the encrypted files and will work on them as we travel. We can leave whenever you're ready.
Still can't believe David let me get this far just to shut the door in my face at the last second. But he did let me get this far. And the computer's not the only thing in here. The cabinets are a lot less eye-catching than his computer, but knowing David, that's all the more reason to check. Lots of paperwork, bonds and holdings, a platinum bar. His birth certificate might be nearly as valuable. Can't imagine what people would pay to steal David Ashore's identity. And down here at the bottom, a binder. Noble's logo on the front and in the middle. Enough pages to dwarf one of those phone books you see in period pieces. They're masking it in legalese even on the table of contents, but basically, this is his employment contract. Hold on to this for me.
It must be very important if you're giving it to me.
It's certainly very heavy.
Was there anything else in there?
Expecting an updated copy of his will to show up?
It is a possibility, isn't it?
Maybe in a corny old murder mystery.
A widely beloved and respected genre with over 2 centuries of literature and film.
There is something else. Your papers.
That Evangeline Morgan be given immediate and complete ownership of the android designated Sarah.
It's dated to a few weeks back. Had he already made up his mind about all this? If he had, why'd he hide this where no one else could find it? Was I just a backup plan? Well, at least we've got something a bit more concrete than Starling's word now.
Our word should be plenty, shouldn't it?
Not if people realize how precious you are. As a collector's item. We've yet to meet one person who knows what the hell you are, but Noble could have easily argued that you fall under their private technologies or physical holdings, unless I had something like this.
It's good that you do then. I'm glad that father wanted me to go with a friend of his.
Yeah. This'll get me a huge tax write-off when I donate you to a for-profit college.
You could at least pick a charitable institution.
It's just an old saying. All colleges have been for-profit since the 60s.
That doesn't make me feel any better.
You can cheer up in the car. Hail us a ride to the courthouse. Priority.
There is an upcharge at this hour for priority transportation.
That's irritating. But I'd like to have more than just a few minutes to prepare once we get there.
The upcharge is a multiplier of 5.7.
Wow.
I'll prepare on the way over.
Very good, Adonai.
Now, if you want, we can do the short preamble to court, or we can leave that for next time.
We can do the short preamble. It's fine.
Okay, this
It's
is like
already late enough.
This is like a scene, but there's not like, it's not a clicking around scene. It's a talking scene.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Does it excite you, going into courtrooms?
What do you mean?
You don't feel the tension in the air as the audience murmurs amongst themselves?
Yes, other one, dude, that was congestion pricing.
Yeah.
The future. It's like today, but worse.
You don't feel a fiery sense of justice rising in your gut as the prosecution smirks at your ragtag assembly of witnesses?
Do you really think this is going to be like some kind of movie where the good guys save the day?
Probably not. Though that would be nice if it were.
What's your deal, anyway? Did David train you off of a movie marathon from hell or something?
We did watch films together, if that's what you're asking. Though he was rarely the one who suggested it.
So you were the aggressor. What's an android get out of watching a flick, anyway?
What do I get?
Why do you do it? What's your reason?
I'm not sure how to answer your question.
Never mind. Forgot what I was talking to.
I like the performances.
Sure, there you go. Got a crush on Humphrey Bogart or something?
He's a handsome man.
This is why I'm like, okay, this is an Oates character.
Yeah.
But it's not the actors I like so much as their performance. The truth is, besides Father, I have very little experience when it comes to people.
I hadn't noticed.
I read the net, and I watch people and what they share of their lives. But it's also subtle, so hard to follow. There are so many unspoken rules that can't be taught, only learned, and I often struggle to grasp them. You're all so complex, so detailed. But the characters on the screen are exaggerated, larger than life. The actors enunciate, their body language is precise and meaningful. Their faces are bright and softly lit, and their eyes are... It's fiction, so these characters and their stories, they have a beginning, a middle, and end. And the people on the screen don't ask anything of you, except your attention. You can't disappoint them, or make them feel awkward. You can just watch and learn. But what about you, Adonai?
What about me?
Do you like movies?
Yeah, sure, back when I was a kid.
Really? Who was your favorite director? What was your favorite film?
It was a long time ago. I don't remember. I'm gonna save real quick, as I do want to make sure we save before we get into court, because again, part of the thing with high roller mode is that you can't, you can't save or load from court. Court, you have to do a thing, so I want to make sure I don't accidentally not save before court.
Right.
Things are quieter than I expected here at the courthouse, though I've always felt courthouse is a bit of a misnomer. Government building is probably the best way to describe these towers, all-encompassing and impenetrably vague. 100 floors of officials and documents and paper-pushing queues, with a couple dozen courtrooms squeezed in along the way. Didn't think I'd be arguing in court when I woke up today. Didn't think that my friend would be dead, or that he'd have thrust an android onto my lap either. I could just walk in there and concede. Emma would be irritated and more than a little confused, but I could play it off as an exercise in grief. The android would complain, loudly of course, but I wouldn't have to listen to it. Now that it's registered in my name, I could probably just order the damn thing to reset its memory. But I haven't done that. And I guess I don't plan to. Why? It must be because I have my suspicions as well. Sarah insists that David would never commit suicide, and I haven't actually stopped to ask myself whether or not I agree. David was rational, subdued, private, hard on himself, and not prone to emotional outbursts. So maybe that's why I'm finding myself outside a courtroom prepared to humor and add suspicions before the state. Because I don't really believe David killed himself either. What's your progress bar at?
I can confirm that I am making progress.
Well, shit, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
But it would be difficult to summarize that progress in terms of a completion percent.
Give it your best shot anyway.
4%.
Great.
Are you feeling confident in your case?
Markedly less so after hearing that.
Do you think the judge will be amenable to your argument?
What are you talking about?
Do you know the judge we've been assigned? Are they particularly lenient or strict?
Adjutants are always a coin flip, so... You do know what an adjutant is, don't you? Are you expecting to see a bearded old man with a robe and a gavel when we get in there?
Yes.
Yes.
Should I not?
Adjutants are android judges, okay? With all the authority that entails.
I'm surprised to hear that people are willing to accept rulings made by automated dependents.
Rulings come from landmark cases in the higher courts. Those are passed down by actual judges, real people with decades of study and experience. But not every eviction case or traffic ticket that ends up in court requires years of legal expertise. Sometimes, all you need is a referee and a sentencing algorithm.
So, androids are used to reduce caseload?
Been that way for decades.
But how is the law that replaced judges ever enforced? Wouldn't there be injunctions stalling?
Judges did fight for it for years, at every level and in every theater. But the public lost their patience for that kind of obstruction during the 60s. The state needed to shred budgets across the board, and so judges that couldn't be replaced by years of legal battles were instead ushered into early retirement by the unrelenting force of our great nation's accountants.
And it's not controversial? Having machines determine sentencing for human beings?
Whatever controversy there is, it gets aimed at the machines, not the people who put them there. And the machines can't lose sleep over it. Besides, used to be that even the most high profile of crimes wouldn't get a court date until weeks or months later. Nowadays, most crimes are prosecuted within a single business week.
And that's not rushing things?
It keeps people in my line of work on their toes, that's for sure.
I'm just surprised to hear that there's so much haste.
Let me make sure I got the... Yeah, there you go, sorry. Don't they teach you about classical conditioning in android school? You gotta feed the dog immediately after you ring the bell. If punishment doesn't follow the crime in quick succession, the lesson doesn't stick.
I see. But if adjutants are so effective, why aren't they used in every trial? Why aren't they used in politics?
That's a logical question to ask.
And the answer is...
That logic only gets you so far when it comes to people.
Doesn't everyone want the courts to be as just as possible? If adjutants are truly impartial and incorruptible...
Everyone wants justice, sure. But there are other considerations to be had.
Such as...
Disgust.
What?
That's all people really care about. What all their morals boil down to. Just what they do or don't find disgusting. Only problem is, everything's more palatable when viewed through a screen. So when everyone sees the world through AR and cameras and no one ever gets dirt under their fingernails, you'd be surprised what you can get away with.
I don't understand.
Yeah, well, therein lies the problem. Let me make sure, because I think that might be where the cut happens. But I'm gonna... Blah, blah. Yes, okay.
You like it.
That is
nailed that one, Saturn.
that is where the cut happens. Don't ask me why I know that. Next time, though, when we get to this, it will be sometime next week again. We can't really boil down the dates until the weekend. But next time we're going to do the first courtroom sequence in of the Devil episode 1. And probably some
Yeah.
stuff after that. I think the courtroom sequences tend to go by pretty quick, not because they're short, but because the way you engage with them makes them go quick.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't
They're
think it'll be
pretty,
the entire.
like-
I don't think it'll be the entire stream or anything.
Mhm.
But that's for next time. Let me switch to the
Yeah.
outro screen. There we go. So yeah, thank you all again for doing the live read with me.
Of
Yeah,
course.
absolutely.
I will be back on Friday. I'm going to be playing Sorry We're Closed at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's nominally by myself, but I'll be in the usual recording channel just anyway if people decide they want to come in, and if not, no worries. We're like the absolute worst case scenario where I stream for myself and no one shows up is still entertaining to me anyway, so it's all right. But yeah, anything else they want to shout out before we log off?
We'll
That's
be
it.
doing more Eighth Turn investigations at some point as well, in between the next time we do Of the Devil.
Yeah, there might be a situation still for another 2 or 3 weeks where we are doing an Ace Attorney investigations and an Of the Devil on different days of different days of the week, so you can get
So we need
double the fixins.
Yeah, I need someone to just draw Miles Edgeworth and Morgan interacting, because those two going up against each other would be delightful.
Miles Edgeworth is not prepared for Morgan.
No, he's
No.
not. But he's not prepared for
No,
a
she
lot of
dog
things.
walk him.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. Like, you can't, like, the power scaling is such that if you put Evangeline Morgan as the defense attorney in any given Phoenix Wright case, it would be over in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
She does not have she is not I mean, she's got her foibles, but she is not nearly as I would say Phoenix is a Watson adjacent level of intelligence, right?
Ironically, I don't think Evangeline Morgan could solve the Roken gene.
Yeah. Here's the
You know
thing.
what? I have. You go ahead, Sarah.
I don't think she could solve the murders, because I think the meta narrative stuff going on there is a little too artsy fartsy for her.
Mm-hmm.
I think she could understand Beatrice, though. That's my
Okay.
professional estimation.
Okay.
Where do you think Evangeline Morgan fits on the scale of could solve the Kira murders and could figure out the mechanics of the Death Note?
Ben, I have news for you, which is that her and Emma in their shit are very explicitly based on Light and L. Like not
Great.
100%, but those two characters are in their tableau, like both of them respectively.
That makes sense.
Because she's just doing, the thing is, like, she could solve the Death Note, she could solve the Kira murders and understand the Death Note because she's that character. She knows.
Right. Okay.
She
That
has the
makes
Death
sense.
Note.
That's funny. It's called This Gun I Found.
Yeah, exactly. The only other thing I guess to mention is if you're watching this and it's not yet Sunday, February 16th, if you come to the Gorge Discord server, which I suppose I should link in the channel at some point, you can find it through the podcast. I should realize this is unhelpful for something. Whatever, it's fine. Ben, do you have a link to the Discord, like an invite link handy?
I can make one.
Okay. Because I was gonna say we could just post that in chat or something, and it'll, I guess, show up in
Yeah.
the VOD. Actually, let me switch back to let me switch to this screen so it shows the chat real quick. But if you post that in there and you go there and it's not Sunday yet, we will be continuing our Legend of the Galactic Sundays streams on Legend of the Galactic Sunday. At which point, where we will be watching the last 5 episodes of the first series of the Legend of the Galactic Heroes OVA. So if you like that show, please come by. And if you are interested in that show and haven't seen any of it, please watch the preceding 21 episodes first and then come by.
Yes.
Yeah, they come join us. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, y'all, thanks so much again. I will play this for you
Mhm.
next week, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all again.